In 1927, during the Solvay Conference, the most brilliant minds in history, Einstein, Bohr, Heisenberg, gathered to discuss a discovery that threatened to destroy our understanding of reality. At a fundamental level, the universe is non-local, not solid, and non-deterministic. They discovered that the atom, the building block of everything you call the physical world, is actually 99.999999% empty space. And that space is not nothingness. It is a vibrant field of frequencies and information. However, almost 100 years later, human civilization continues to operate under an obsolete operating system, the Newtonian paradigm. Most of us live trapped in the illusion of linearity. We believe that to move reality, we need to exert force upon matter. We believe in entropy, that time wears us down, that energy is limited, and that we are separate biological entities struggling for survival in a hostile environment. This approach is biologically costly and energetically inefficient. It is living as particles in a world of waves. This audiobook, The True Quantum Change, is not a collection of hopeful wishes. It is a treatise on the mechanics of consciousness. Our premise is scientific and radical. External reality is not something you find, it is something you select. In this very instant, infinite versions of your life exist in a state of quantum superposition. All possibilities, from illness to spontaneous healing, from scarcity to unlimited abundance, exist simultaneously as probability waves in the unified field. The only reason you experience this specific reality and not another is because your electromagnetic signature, the sum of your electrical thoughts and your magnetic feelings, is collapsing the wave always into the same pattern. You are a victim of your own repetitive observation. Your brain, wired for survival, is a record of the past. If you think the same as yesterday, make the same decisions as yesterday, and feel the same emotions as yesterday, you are biologically and quantumly forced to create the same future. To change requires an act of neuro-alchemy. We must learn to disconnect consciousness from the body, the environment and time. We must learn to enter the zero-point field, the womb of creation, and become pure consciousness. In the coming hours, we will set aside speculative philosophy to focus on practical application. You will learn to regulate your own genetic expression. You will learn to synchronize heart-brain coherence to emit a clear signal to the field. You will learn to navigate the multiverse of probabilities not as a passenger, but as the operator of the system. Forget everything you know about effort, time, and distance. Those are laws of matter. We are going to operate under the laws of energy. Welcome to the true nature of reality. Chapter 1. The Newtonian Trap, Cause and Effect versus Causing an Effect. For more than 300 years, Western civilization has operated under a set of physical and philosophical laws established by Sir Isaac Newton in the 17th century. Classical physics, or Newtonian physics, describes a mechanical universe, a universe of solid objects, separated from one another, moving through space and time in a predictable manner. It is the world of the great machine. If you know the position and velocity of an object, like a billiard ball or a planet, you can predict exactly where it will be in the future. This model has been extraordinarily useful for building bridges, sending rockets to the moon, and designing the mechanical technology that surrounds us. However, when we apply this model of solid and predictable matter to our own biology and our personal destiny, we enter what we will call the Newtonian trap. Most human beings live their lives as matter trying to alter matter. This is the lowest and least efficient level of creation. In the Newtonian model, to change your reality, which you perceive as solid and external, you must exert a physical force upon it through time. If you want more money, matter, you must work more hours, time and physical energy. If you want to move your body from point A to point B, you must cross the distance that separates them. This requires an energy expenditure and a temporal delay. We live under the tyranny of distance and time. We believe we are separate from our desires. We see the new car, health, or the ideal partner as objects out there, separated from us in here. And to close that gap, we fight, we push, we force. This is operating under the laws of survival. It is living in the realm of effects, completely forgetting that we are the generators of the causes. The victim model. Waiting for the external cause. Let's analyze human psychology through the Newtonian lens. The classic cause and effect paradigm establishes that an external event, the cause, must occur first for an internal change, the effect, to be produced. You wait for something outside of you to change in order to change how you feel inside. You follow this logic. When I get the promotion, I will feel secure. When I find my soulmate, I will feel love. When I am cured of this disease, I will feel gratitude. Analyze the biochemistry of this posture. You are living in lack. By saying, when X happens, I will feel Y, you are vibrationally affirming that X is not happening now. You are affirming the absence of the desired object. And since the quantum field does not respond to what you want, but to who you are being, that signal of lack perpetuates the reality of lack. Even more serious, this model turns you, by definition, into a victim. If you need an external cause to feel an elevated emotion, you are handing over your power to the environment. If your boss is in a bad mood, and that makes you feel bad, your boss has control over your chemical homeostasis. If the news is bad and you get depressed, the news is your owner. In the Newtonian model, the environment controls the mind. You are a cork floating in the sea of circumstances. You are reacting chemically to what happens around you. This constant reactivity keeps your brain firing the same circuits and your body producing the same stress hormones. And, given that your personality creates your personal reality, and your personality is composed of how you think, how you act, and how you feel, if the environment controls how you feel, then the environment is creating your reality, not you. You are trapped in a feedback loop where your external reality reinforces your internal state, and your internal state validates your external reality. Paradigm inversion causing an effect. The quantum change requires a total inversion of this equation. We must move from being victims of cause and effect to being creators who cause an effect. What does this mean in mechanical terms? It means that the internal change must occur before the external change. The quantum model dictates, I must feel security so that the promotion arrives. I must feel unconditional love so that the partner appears. I must feel gratitude and bodily wholeness so that the healing manifests. This challenges our sensory logic. How can I feel gratitude if my bank account is empty? Is that not self-deception? For the Newtonian mind, yes, it is madness. But for the quantum mind, it is engineering. The human body, your biological hardware, is objectively very dense, but subjectively, it does not distinguish between a real experience and an experience vividly imagined with high emotional charge. If you close your eyes and mentally rehearse a future where you are abundant, and you manage to generate the elevated emotion of that abundance, gratitude, euphoria, freedom, in the present moment, your body begins to produce the chemistry of that reality now. Your brain creates new synaptic connections, as if the experience had already occurred. Your genes begin to regulate themselves differently, responding to a new environment, even if that environment is only internal. In that moment, you have stepped out of linear time. You have brought the future into the present. Your body believes that the healing or the wealth is already happening. And when your electromagnetic state, your signature, changes, you stop emitting the signal of need, lack, and begin to emit the signal of it has already happened, gratitude. Only then the quantum field, which is a holographic mirror, can reflect that new signal by returning the physical experience to you in the form of synchronicity. Causing an effect is changing your energy independently of your environment. Entropy and survival, the cost of matter. Let's talk about thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics speaks of entropy, the tendency of all closed systems to move toward disorder and energy loss. Matter wears down, the body ages, structures collapse. When you live in survival mode, the chronic stress of modern life, you're operating under the law of entropy. Stress is the body's response to a threat, real or imaginary. When you see a lion or an unpaid bill, your body mobilizes all its vital energy toward the limbs to fight or flee. You take energy away from your immune system, from your digestion, and from your higher creative centers, frontal lobe, to become an efficient animal. This is useful if the threat lasts 5 minutes, but if you live in chronic stress, worry about the future, resentment for the past, you are constantly draining your vital battery. You are converting your energy, wave, into chemistry, matter. You become dense, you become heavy. In this state, you perceive yourself purely as a physical body. I am this flesh, I have this pain, I am hungry, I am afraid. Your consciousness contracts and focuses only on 3 things. The body, how do I feel? The environment, where am I and what dangers are there? The time, how much longer until this ends? When all your attention is collapsed onto the body, the environment and time, no energy is left for creation. You are consuming your vital field just to maintain the status quo. Attempting to manifest or create reality from survival mode is impossible, because in survival there is no room for the unknown. There is only room for prediction based on the past to avoid death. To enter the quantum model, we must leave entropy. We must move from being organisms that consume energy to being generators that channel energy from the field. The illusion of separation. Locality versus non-locality. The central pillar of Newtonian physics is locality. The idea that things can only affect each other if they touch, or if there is a physical force that travels between them. This creates the illusion of separation. I am here, and what I want is over there. I am separate from you. I am separate from God. This perception of separation is the mother of all suffering and all competition. If we are separate and resources are finite, matter, I must fight you to get mine. This is the consciousness of matter against matter. Quantum physics introduces the principle of non-locality, quantum entanglement. It has been proven that 2 particles that have been joined, if separated by light years of distance, remain connected. If you change the spin of one, the other changes instantaneously. Without travel time, without wires. This suggests that at a fundamental level, distance is an illusion. Everything is connected in a unified field of information. When you operate from quantum consciousness, you do not try to go toward your objective, travel distance. Rather, you collapse the distance. You understand that you and your desire are already connected by the field. You do not need to attract anything, because attracting implies it is far away. You need to tune in. Imagine a radio. The classical music station is not far from the rock station. They are in the same space, occupying the same place but on different frequencies. To listen to classical music, you do not need to travel to the concert hall. You only need to turn the dial, change your frequency, to match the wave that is already there. Quantum change is a change of frequency, not a change of location. You stop fighting against distance and begin to operate in the immediacy of frequency, linear time as a prison. Newton gave us absolute and linear time, an arrow that goes from the past to the future. In this model, the past is fixed and the future is the inevitable result of past actions. If you live under this model, you are a prisoner of your history. You believe that what happened to you 10 years ago defines what you can do today. You believe that time is needed to heal, time to build wealth, to build. Time is the excuse of the materialistic paradigm. Things take time. In the quantum realm, time is not linear. It is vertical. It is the eternal now. All probabilities exist simultaneously in the zero-point field. The version of you that is healthy, wealthy, and awake is not in the future, within 5 years. That version exists right now, as an electromagnetic frequency in the field waiting to be observed. The time it takes you to manifest that reality is not the time it takes the object to travel to you. It is the time it takes you to let go of your resistance and align with that frequency. If you could change your identity completely in an instant, a radical conversion, reality would change instantaneously. Spontaneous remissions of incurable diseases are the perfect example. People who, in a matter of hours, change their internal structure so radically that the disease ceases to exist. The disease ceased to exist in their body because it belonged to the old self, and the new self inhabits a different timeline. They have hacked linear time, the tyranny of the senses. Why is it so hard to escape the Newtonian trap? Because our senses deceive us. Your eyes, ears, and touch are biologically designed to navigate the three-dimensional world of matter. They are user interfaces for density. Your senses can only perceive a minuscule range of the electromagnetic spectrum. Visible light is less than 1%. When you trust only your senses, seeing is believing. You are blind to 99% of reality. Your senses tell you the chair is solid. Physics tells you it is vibrating energy. Your senses tell you that you are separate from the person in front of you. Energy tells you that you are constantly exchanging photons. To enter into the true quantum change, you must learn to distrust your senses. You must become capable of believing in a future that you cannot see or touch yet. You must be able to hold an internal vision with such clarity that the absence of physical proof does not make you doubt. In the moment you look at your current reality, see that nothing has changed and get depressed. You have returned to the Newtonian trap. You have again let dead reality, the materialized past, dictate your living energy. The quantum master walks through the physical world, but is not of the physical world. He sees matter, but knows it is a malleable mirage. The scientific leap of faith. Abandoning the Newtonian model feels like dying, literally. Your ego has built its entire identity based on its separation, its material achievements, its past history, and its position in space-time. Telling you to stop doing, physical force to start being, energetic coherence, terrifies the ego. The ego screams, if I don't worry, everything will fall apart. If I don't push, I won't arrive. The ego is the guardian of the Newtonian prison. The quantum leap requires that you withdraw your attention from the external world and bring it toward the internal world. It requires that you sit in meditation and disconnect from the body, the environment, and time. By doing that, you cease to be a particle, someone somewhere at some time. You become a wave, pure consciousness in the immaterial field. And it is only as a wave, not as a particle, that you can influence reality on a large scale. As a particle, matter, your influence is local and weak. As a wave, energy, your influence is non-local and potent. Chapter 2. The Wave Function Collapse. You are the experiment. To understand the true nature of your power, we must visit the most famous, baffling, and repeated experiment in the history of quantum physics, the double-slit experiment. This experiment is not just a test of the behavior of light or electrons. It is an empirical demonstration of how consciousness interacts with the structure of reality. It is the scientific proof that the universe does not exist out there independently of you, but rather awaits your instruction to define itself. Let's imagine the scenario. Scientists fire subatomic particles, electrons, toward a barrier that has two vertical slits open. Behind that barrier, there is a photographic wall that records where the electrons hit. In classical physics, Newtonian, if you fire marbles through two holes, you would expect to see two vertical bands of impacts on the back wall. The marbles pass through one slit or the other, pure logic. However, when physicists fired electrons, they did not get two bands. They obtained an interference pattern, multiple alternating bands of impacts. This pattern is characteristic of waves, not solid matter. It means the electron left the cannon, became a wave of potential, passed through both slits at the same time, interfered with itself, and hit the back wall. The electron was in superposition. It was everywhere at once. But here begins the mystery that shattered materialism. The scientists, confused, decided to put a sensor, a measuring device, next to the slits to see which one the electron actually passed through. They wanted to spy on reality. They fired the electron again with the observer, the sensor, turned on. What happened? At the exact moment the electron was observed, it stopped behaving like a wave. It stopped passing through both slits. It passed through only one slit and hit the back wall, creating two bands, exactly like a solid marble. The act of observing, measuring, forced the electron to abandon its state of infinite possibility, wave and collapse into a single, defined reality, particle. The electron knew it was being observed and changed its fundamental behavior. The conclusion is inescapable. Reality exists as immaterial probability waves, wave function, until an observing consciousness fixes its attention on it. In that instant, The wave function collapses and becomes a material event, particle. You are not a mere biological spectator in a static universe. You are the quantum observer. You are the one who, through your sustained attention, is constantly collapsing the quantum soup of probabilities into the solid reality you call your life. The wave function, the field of possibilities. Let's go deeper into what this means for your daily existence. In quantum mechanics, the wave function is a mathematical description of all possible configurations of a system. Imagine your future. Right now, your future is not written in stone. It is a complex wave function. There is a probability, a wave where tomorrow you have an accident. There is a probability where tomorrow you meet the love of your life. There is a probability where you heal. There is a probability where you get worse. All these realities exist simultaneously in the unified field in a state of superposition. They are electromagnetic ghosts. They are potentials. None is real yet. None is matter. They are floating in the darkness of the void, waiting for a signal. Which of these probabilities will manifest tomorrow in your 3D experience? The one you collapse. And how do you collapse a reality? Through focused attention and emotional expectation. Your mind is the measuring device of the experiment. Where you put your attention, you put your energy. If you wake up in the morning and your attention is immediately directed to your problems, your pain, your debts, and your conflicts, you are observing the reality of the old self. You are looking at the difficult life wave, and by looking at it, you collapse it into particles. You make it solid. You make it real for today. Quantum physics tells us that energy flows where attention goes. If you withdraw your attention from a possibility, that possibility loses energy and dissolves back into a wave. It disappears. If you maintain your attention on a possibility, that possibility gains density and crystallizes into matter. The habit of collapsing the same thing. The problem of humanity is not that they don't know how to manifest. We manifest all the time. We are wave collapse machines 24/7. The problem is that we are addicted to collapsing the same reality over and over again. We call this routine or normal life, but in reality, it is a quantum feedback loop. Let's analyze your typical morning under the quantum microscope. You wake up. Your brain begins to oscillate in beta waves, conscious activity. Immediately you remember who you are. You remember your name, your job, your partner, and most importantly, your problems. By remembering your problems, your brain fires the neural circuits associated with those problems. Memory. Those circuits send a signal to your body to produce the emotions associated with those problems: anxiety, resignation, sadness. Now your body is vibrating at the frequency of the past, and your attention is fixed on the limitations of yesterday. What did you just do? You have observed the quantum field through the lens of your past. You have searched the infinite menu of probabilities and selected the dish that says more of the same. You have collapsed the wave function into the same particle as yesterday. And then you get out of bed and say, well, nothing changes, my life is the same. Of course it is the same. You have recreated it the same. For something new to happen in your life, you would have to wake up and not collapse your old identity. You would have to be able to hold your attention on a new possibility, a desired future, with such firmness that this new wave gains enough energy to materialize while the old wave starves for lack of attention. The quantum Zeno effect, paralysis by analysis. There is a phenomenon in physics called the quantum Zeno effect. It states that an unstable system will not decay, change state, if it is observed continuously. Put simply, if you look at something constantly, you freeze it. If you observe an unstable atom without stopping, it will never change its state. Continuous observation fixes reality in its current state. This explains why obsession and impatience destroy manifestation. When you are desperate for a change, I want money, where is the money? You are constantly observing the absence of money. You are checking reality every 5 minutes to see if it has changed. By observing the current reality, there is no money. With such intensity and frequency, you are applying the Zeno effect. You are freezing the lack. You are solidifying the problem. You are collapsing the scarcity wave over and over again. To allow for a quantum change, you must withdraw your attention from current reality, stop observing it analytically, and place your attention on the desired reality. You must ignore the senses, which show you what is, and activate the internal vision, which shows you what will be. This requires a titanic mental discipline. It requires living in denial of sensory evidence to affirm vibratory evidence. The Zeno effect teaches us that overanalysis paralyzes the system. Sometimes, for the pot to boil, you have to stop looking at it. You have to let go of the neurotic observation of how and when to allow the wave function to evolve. The double nature, wave and particle. You too are a quantum object. You have a double nature. You as a particle. You are your physical body. You have a location. You are sitting here. You have a mass. You are subject to gravity and time. You are dense. You are local. You as a wave. You are your consciousness. You have no weight. You do not occupy physical space. Your mind can be on Mars right now. You are energy. You are non-local. The big mistake is trying to create from the particle. When you identify only with your body, you are operating from matter. And matter obeys slow and heavy laws. To collapse new realities, you must operate from the wave. You must become pure consciousness. In the advanced meditations proposed by this approach, the goal is to stop being a particle. Forget the body. Forget the environment. Forget the time. When you manage to disconnect from everything physical, you become a wave of consciousness floating in the void. And as a wave, you have access to the unified field. As a wave, you can entwine with other waves, the wave of wealth, the wave of health. If you try to manifest from the ego particle, it is difficult. The collapse of the wave function is more powerful the less physicality there is in the observer. A detached and energetic observer moves mountains. An attached and material observer barely moves dust. The mechanism of attention, energy and lens. Let's understand attention as a technology. Attention has two components. 1. Focus. The lens determines which probability you are selecting. 2. Emotion. The fuel determines how much energy you are giving to that probability so that it materializes. If you have a thought, focus, I'm going to get sick, but you have no emotion, fuel. It is just a fleeting thought. Nothing happens. The wave does not collapse. But if you have the thought, I'm going to get sick, and you add intense fear, fuel, boom, you have collapsed the wave. You have created the disease. Fear is an extraordinarily efficient reality collapser because it is a high-amplitude emotion. Most people use their power of collapse to create nightmares. They use their attention to focus on the worst possible scenarios, anxiety, and charge them with visceral terror. They are praying for what they do not want. Anxiety is a dress rehearsal for failure. It is observing future disaster with such clarity that you attract it to the present. The quantum master hacks this mechanism. He uses the focus to select the best possible scenario. I am healthy, I am free. And he uses self-generated elevated emotions, gratitude, love, joy as fuel. He observes that future with such intensity that the wave collapses into a positive event. Remember, quantum observation is not visual, it is vibrational. The universe does not hear what you say, it feels what you observe with your electromagnetic field. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Werner Heisenberg formulated another key principle. One cannot simultaneously know the position and momentum, velocity, of a particle with absolute precision. The more precisely one is known, the less precisely the other is known. Applied to reality engineering, this has a profound implication. If you obsess over position, the where and when of your manifestation, the material details, you lose control over the momentum, the wave, the energy, the flow. If you try to control every microscopic detail, I want to earn $10,000 on Friday at 3 p.m. selling this specific product to this specific client, you are focusing too much on the particle. You are forcing reality into a point so small that you lose the energy of the wave. You stop the flow. To manifest, you must focus on the energy, the momentum, not the exact position. You must focus on the what, the essence, the emotion, the freedom, and leave the how and when in a state of uncertainty, wave. You must be comfortable not knowing how it's going to happen. By leaving the how in a wave state, undefined, you allow the unified field to organize the details in the most efficient way possible. If you try to define, collapse, the how prematurely with your limited mind, you block the infinite intelligence of the field. Hold the clear vision wave, but let go of the rigid details particle. The Library of Alexandria, the Multiverse. Imagine the quantum field as an infinite library. Every book is a possible life of yours. There is a book where you are a beggar. There is a book where you are a king. There is a book where you were never born. All the books are already written, they are on the shelves now. You don't have to write your future. You have to choose the book you want to read. You are the reader. Your attention is the hand that pulls the book from the shelf. When you read the book, live it, it seems like it is happening in real time, word by word. But the book was already complete before you opened it. This is the multiverse, the many worlds interpretation of quantum physics. Quantum change is not creating something from nothing. It is tuning into a reality that already exists in parallel, shifting to an adjacent timeline. When you collapse a wave, you are not destroying the other options. You are simply becoming blind to them. You are tuning into Channel 5 and stop seeing Channel 4. But Channel 4 continues broadcasting. This means that if you don't like your current reality, you don't have to fix it. Fixing reality is Newtonian. Fixing matter. What you have to do is change the channel. You have to stop observing the Channel 4 reality, problems, and start observing the Channel 5 reality, solutions. At first you will see static, chaos, transition, but if you keep the signal strong, Channel 5 will become sharp and solid. Radical responsibility, the end of innocence. Understanding the observer effect removes forever the right to be a victim. If you are the wave collapser, you are responsible for your life. There is no bad luck. Bad luck is a pattern of unconscious and careless observation that collapses chaotic events. There is no cruel fate. Fate is the set of probabilities you collapsed by default because you were too asleep to choose consciously. Accepting this is hard. It means you collapsed your debts. You collapsed your toxic relationships. You collapsed your sick body. You did it unintentionally, yes. You did it from ignorance, yes. But it was you. It was your sustained attention on fear, your addiction to drama, and your inability to control your mind that solidified those realities. But this bad news is, in reality, the best possible news. Because if you created it, you can uncreate it. If your attention caused the problem, your attention can dissolve it. You only have to withdraw your gaze from the problem, stop feeding it with energy, and place it on the solution. The world is Play-Doh in the hands of your consciousness. The daily experiment. Science requires experimentation. Don't believe me, test it. Tomorrow morning, do an experiment in conscious wave collapse, before getting up, before looking at your phone, before remembering who you are. Select a specific wave. For example, today I'm going to collapse a reality of synchronicity and ease. Hold that intention. Feel the emotion that everything flows easily. Visualize the day ending with a smile. During the day, stay alert. Be the scientist. Every time something goes well, say, there it is, I have collapsed that. I have. Every time something goes wrong, say, interesting, I lost focus. I return to observing ease. Do not react to the world. Act upon the world with your observation. You will see that reality, which seems so solid and hostile, begins to respond. Small coincidences, green lights, smiles. Chapter 3. The zero-point field, the void. In the physics of consciousness, that bias, that fundamental operating system where all potentialities reside before becoming matter, is called the zero-point field. In mystical traditions, it is called the void. It is a place that is not a place, a time that is not a time. It is the infinite, silent, and eternal blackness from which everything that exists arises. For the ego, this place is terrifying because it resembles death. For the awakened consciousness, this place is home, because it is the only domain where creation is instantaneous. In this chapter, we will learn to die voluntarily. We will learn to disconnect from the 3D simulation to enter the server room of the universe. Vacuum physics, the ground state energy. Scientifically, the concept of vacuum is misleading. Classical physics thought that if you removed all matter from a box and lowered the temperature to absolute zero, 273.15 degrees 6, nothing would remain. Zero energy. Quantum mechanics proved this to be false. Even in the absolute vacuum, without matter and at zero temperature, there is frantic activity. Virtual particles appear and disappear in nanoseconds. There are electromagnetic fluctuations. There is a background hum. This hum is the zero-point energy. It is the lowest possible energy a physical system can have, but it is not zero, it is immense. Physicists like John Wheeler calculated that the energy density of the quantum vacuum is so high that the volume of a coffee cup contains enough potential energy to evaporate all the oceans on Earth. Empty space is not empty. It is a plenum. It is full of an infinite density of unmanifested power. It is a sea of latent information. You, your body, your house, and your planet are simply small excitations, small waves on the surface of this infinite ocean of energy. Matter is only the zero-point field vibrating slower. The goal of true quantum change is to stop being a wave, separate matter, and submerge yourself back into the ocean, the field. When you merge with the field, you have access to that infinite energy of the coffee cup. When you remain separate as a physical body, you only have access to the chemical energy of your last meal. The difference in power is incalculable. The three great obstacles: body, environment, and time. To enter the zero-point field, you must overcome the gravity of 3D reality. This gravity holds you through three anchors: your body, your environment, and time. As long as your consciousness is focused on any of these 3 points, you remain a particle. You remain local. You remain trapped in the matrix. Let's analyze the chains we must break. 1. The chain of the body. Your body wants to be the boss. It wants food. It wants sex. It wants comfort. It wants you to scratch where it itches. It feels pain. When you sit down to meditate to enter the field, your body rebels. It sends signals of discomfort to the brain. Get up, I'm hungry, this is boring. If you respond to those signals, you have collapsed back into matter. You have validated that you are a biological body. To enter the void, you must tame the animal. You must reach a point of stillness such that you stop feeling the body. You dissociate from biology. You become a formless consciousness. 2. The chain of the environment. Your brain has neural circuits associated with every object and person you know. If you think about your job, you activate a neural network. If you think about your partner, you activate another. Your environment is your reflected past. To enter the field, you must withdraw your attention. You must withdraw your attention from everything known. You must forget where you are sitting. You must forget who your boss is, who your mother is, how much money you have in the bank. You must disconnect the sensory cables that tie you to physical reality. If you are thinking about your problems in the outside world, you are not in the field, you are in the problem. 3. The chain of time. We live obsessed with the timeline, memories of the past, anxiety about the future. The zero-point field exists outside of time. It is the eternal now. In the quantum realm, there are no clocks. If you are meditating and thinking, how much longer until I'm done, you have returned to linear time. You have left the field. Entering the void requires losing track of time, spending 2 hours and feeling like it has been 2 minutes. That is transcendence. The disappearance protocol. Becoming no one. Joe Dispenza, one of the great modern researchers of this phenomenon, uses a key phrase that will become our technical mantra. To change your life, you have to become no one, nothing, nowhere, and in no time. Analyze the phrase. It is the total negation of identity. No one, you lose your name, your profession, your personal history, your gender, your race. You are pure consciousness without labels. Nothing, you lose your body. You are not matter. You are a point of consciousness in the darkness. Nowhere. You are not in your room nor in your city. You are in infinite black space. No time. There is no yesterday or tomorrow. Only eternal presence exists. This process is called passing through the eye of the needle. Your identity, ego, is too fat to pass through the gate. You cannot take your grudges to the void. You cannot take your successes. You cannot take your victimhood. You have to leave all the luggage at the door. You have to enter naked. This feels like dying because biologically, your identity is your life. When you start to disconnect from everything that defines you, the brain panics, I'm disappearing. That fear is the guardian of the threshold. If you retreat from that fear, you return to known reality. If you pass through that fear, you find absolute freedom. By becoming no one, you become capable of being anyone. By becoming nothing, you become capable of having everything. Brain frequencies, the access key. Entering the void is not just a philosophical idea, it is a measurable neurophysiological event. It requires changing the speed of your brainwaves. High beta, the blockage. It is where you normally live. Stress, analysis, external focus, survival. The brain is desynchronized. Here you are separate from the field. You are pure matter. Alpha, the bridge. You close your eyes. You relax. The critical voice lowers its volume. You start to imagine. Here begins the dissociation from the environment. Theta, the gate of the void. This is the goal. It is the state between wakefulness and sleep, hypnagogic. The body is asleep, but the mind is awake. In theta, the neocortex, the analytical and thinking brain, shuts down. You stop analyzing. You stop judging. In theta, you access the subconscious and the autonomous operating system. It is in theta where you enter the zero-point field. Delta, deep sleep, total connection, but usually unconscious. Gamma, superconsciousness, occurs sometimes within the void. A surge of high-frequency energy, ecstasy, direct knowledge, epiphany. The quantum change training consists of learning to voluntarily lower from beta to theta without falling asleep, maintaining lucidity in the darkness. In theta, you are no longer a local particle, you are an expanded wave. Your electromagnetic signature changes radically. That is where the magic happens. The fertile darkness versus the darkness of fear. When you close your eyes and disconnect from the senses, everything turns black. Our culture associates darkness and vacuum with nothingness, loneliness, or evil. We must reprogram this association. The darkness of the zero-point field is not an empty darkness. It is a fertile darkness. It is like the darkness of a womb before conception. It is like the darkness of a photographic darkroom. It is black because it contains all colors. It contains all colors at once in potential, not because there is no light. Upon entering that infinite black space, you should not seek to see anything with your eyes that would activate the visual cortex and return you to beta. You must feel the space. You must become aware of the vastness. Feel the volume of space surrounding you. Feel the space between your ears. Feel the space beyond the walls. By putting your attention on space and nothingness, your brain stops focusing on matter, particle, and starts tuning into energy, wave. Your brain waves synchronize. You move from an incoherent pattern to a coherent pattern. In that darkness, you feel safe, you feel eternal. You realize you don't need anything external to feel complete. That moment of wholeness in nothingness is the sign that you have connected. The operating system metaphor. Imagine your life is a video game displayed on a monitor. Your body is the avatar. Your house and your job are the setting. Trying to change your life by moving the avatar and screaming at the screen, Newtonian effort, is limited. Entering the zero-point field is pressing ESC, exiting the game and opening the command console. The console is a black screen with a blinking cursor. It is boring. It has no 3D graphics. It has no music. It is void. But it is infinitely more powerful than the game. In the game, you have to walk hours to cross a map. In the console, you write a line of code, teleport location, sex, and you appear there instantly. In the game, you have to work to earn gold coins. In the console, you write, give, gold, 1,000, and you have the gold. The zero-point field is the command console of reality. It is where the rules are rewritten. But to use the console, you must stop playing the game for a moment. You must stop being obsessed with the avatar. You must become the programmer. The danger of premature return. The greatest mistake initiates make is impatience. They enter meditation, manage to calm down a bit, touch the edge of the void, and immediately go back to thinking about their desire. Okay, I'm relaxed. Where is my Ferrari? In the moment you look for the object, matter, you fall out of the field. You return to being a lacking person seeking something separate from yourself. The paradox of the void is, to create something, you must stop wanting it during the time you are in the field. While you're at the 0 point, you must feel so complete, so full of pure energy, that you no longer need the Ferrari. You must transcend the need. Only when you are in that state of wholeness and total detachment can you plant the seed, the intention. But if you plant the seed with urgency, you kill it. You must remain in non-being long enough for your nervous system to forget your old identity. You have to cook in the energy of the field. You have to let that quantum radiation clean your circuits of the emotional addiction to the past, reconnecting with the source. The 0 point field is not just physics, it is pure spirituality. It is what religions call God, the Tao, the Holy Spirit, the Source, the infinite intelligence. It is a self-organized consciousness that loves. When you enter the void, you are not alone in the darkness. You are in the presence of an immense intelligence, and that intelligence knows you. When you take off the masks of the ego, that intelligence can approach you. A fusion occurs. Your small subjective consciousness merges with the universal objective consciousness. This is what feels like ecstasy or bliss. It is the feeling of coming home. In that state of connection, your will and the will of the universe align. You no longer ask for things like a beggar. You command and create as a legitimate child of the source. The energy you use to create is no longer your small biological energy, which runs out. It is the energy of the field, which is infinite. You become a channel. The practice, detecting space. How is this done technically? A proven technique is divergent focusing. Normally, we live in convergent focusing. We look at objects, screens, people. Narrow focus. This creates beta waves and stress. Divergent focusing is opening the focus. It is feeling the space, not the object. Exercise. Close your eyes. Put your attention on your heart. Now do not feel the physical heart. Feel the space that your heart occupies in the universe. Now feel the space that surrounds your heart. Now feel the space between your shoulders. Now feel the space between you and the walls of the room. Expand more. Feel the infinite black space behind your eyes. By doing this, your brain automatically shifts from beta to alpha theta. By seeking nothingness and space, you disconnect the circuits of analysis. You become pure sensory consciousness. The more time you spend feeling the space, the more you dissolve into it. There will come a moment when you won't know where you end and where space begins. That is the sweet spot. That is the 0 point. That is where miracles happen. Navigating ego resistance. Your ego hates the void. The ego is defined by its limits, its problems, and its separation. In the void, there are no limits, no problems, and no separation. Therefore, for the ego, the void is death. The ego will do anything to get you out of there. It will make your nose itch. It will remind you of a catchy song. It will make you remember an offense from 10 years ago. It will make you feel irrational fear. All of these are distraction tactics to bring you back to the particle. When this happens, and it will, do not fight. Do not get angry. Getting angry is becoming someone again. Simply observe it and return to focusing on the black space. I am aware that my body is anxious, but I am not my body. I return to the blackness. Persist. Eventually, the ego surrenders. Eventually, the ego surrenders. It runs out of energy. And when the ego surrenders, you pass through the veil. You feel a sudden expansion, a release. It is like leaving a claustrophobic room and breathing pure air at the top of a mountain. It is worth every second of struggle to get there. Chapter 4. Timeline jumping, the many worlds interpretation. There is a fundamental error in the way most people approach manifestation and personal change. The erroneous belief is this: I have to create the reality I desire. The verb to create implies that something does not exist, and that you, through your effort and energy, must build it atom by atom from nothing. This suggests work, time, and the possibility of failure. Advanced quantum physics, specifically that formulated by Hugh Everett III in 1957, suggests a much more radical and efficient truth. You do not have to create anything. Everything has already been created. Everything you can imagine, from the version of you that is a billionaire to the version of you that has been miraculously healed, already exists, not as a fantasy in your head, but as a tangible physical reality, occurring right now on a frequency adjacent to the one you are tuning into. Welcome to the multiverse. Welcome to the many worlds interpretation. In this model, the universe is not a single linear timeline. It is an infinite tree of bifurcations. Every time a quantum event has multiple possible outcomes, all of them occur. Reality splits. In one branch of the universe, you turned left and met your partner. In another branch, you turned right and remained single. Both realities are equally real. Both versions of you feel they are the true one. Quantum change, therefore, is not a process of manifestation. It is a process of navigation. It is a process of timeline jumping, quantum jumping. You are not the architect who builds the house brick by brick. You are the radio operator who changes the channel. The music you want to hear, your ideal life, is already playing on FM 105.5. The problem is that you are stubbornly tuned into FM 92.3, complaining that you don't hear the music from 105.5. You don't have to compose the music. You have to turn the dial. The model of reality as a block universe. To understand how to jump, we must understand the structure of space-time. Einstein proposed, and modern physics tends to confirm, the block universe model. Imagine a loaf of sliced bread. Each slice of bread is a moment in time. We, with our limited 3D consciousness, experience life slice by slice, second by second, creating the illusion of linear flow. But for an observer outside of time, 5D, the entire loaf of bread exists simultaneously. The beginning, the middle, and the end of the bread are there at the same time. This means that your birth, your current moment, and your death exist simultaneously in the structure of space-time. And not only that. In the multiverse model, there is not just one loaf of bread. There is an infinite bakery. There are infinite variations of your life existing in parallel. This has a colossal implication. The version of you that has already achieved your dream exists now. It will not exist in the future. It exists in the present, in a slice of parallel reality. That quantum self has a physical body, has thoughts, has emotions, and is living that life at this very instant. The only difference between you and him is not time. It is not capacity. It is not merit. The only difference is the frequency. You are occupying the same space, but in a different vibratory phase. Like two television programs traveling through the same fiber optic cable at the same time, but they do not mix because they are encoded in different frequencies. Your task is not to manufacture the future. Your task is to synchronize with the frequency of that existing version of you. The tuning mechanism, the electromagnetic signature. How do you change channels in reality? There is no physical remote control. The control is your state of being. Your state of being is composed of two variables. 1. Electrical intention, thought, defines the objective. Which channel do I want? 2. Sign, magnetic signature, emotion, tunes the frequency. Am I vibrating on that channel? This is where most fail. They have the clear intention, I want to be rich, wealth channel. But their emotional signature is, I'm afraid of debt, I feel poor, poverty frequency. There is a dissonance. You are trying to watch the wealth channel with the decoder set to poverty. You will only see static, chaos, or you will continue to see the old channel. To jump to the timeline where you are rich, you must feel the wealth before seeing it. You must match the emotional signature of your wealthy quantum self. How does that self feel? Does he feel anxiety about the rent? No, he feels freedom, he feels security, he feels gratitude, he feels generosity. If you manage to generate and sustain those exact emotions in your body now, you trick the universe. Your biology begins to vibrate at the frequency of wealth. And by the law of resonance, the unified field has no choice but to move you to the timeline that matches that frequency. The jump is not physical, it is vibrational. First you move in frequency, and then physical reality reorganizes around your new vibration. The phenomenon of decoherence and rewiring. When you begin to change your frequency to jump timelines, a phenomenon called decoherence occurs. Your old reality begins to crumble. It is vital that you understand this, because many people interpret this as something is going wrong. You start to meditate, to raise your energy, to visualize, and then suddenly your partner leaves you. You are fired from your job, you lose friends, your car breaks down. The ego screams, "This doesn't work, my life is going to hell." The quantum master smiles and says, "It's working, I am jumping." Why does this happen? Because your old reality, partner, job, friends, was tuned to your old frequency, your victim self. By changing your frequency to empowered self, you are no longer energetically compatible with those old structures. The old reality must collapse to make room for the new structure. It's like moving house. To go to the new house, you have to pack, clutter the old house, and live in the chaos of boxes for a few days. That chaos is the transition space. If you panic and return to your old habits of fear, you abort the jump. You return to the old timeline. If you remain firm in your new frequency, despite the external chaos, you cross the wormhole and land in the new reality. The friends who leave are replaced by friends who vibrate at your new height. The job you lose is replaced by an aligned vocation. Do not fear destruction, it is the signal of the jump. The blink of reality, Planck frequency. Physics tells us that reality is not continuous. It seems continuous like a movie, but it is a succession of static frames passing very fast. Reality blinks. It appears and disappears billions of times per second at the Planck timescale. In each blink, the universe is destroyed and completely recreated. This means you are not trapped in a continuity. Every time the universe blinks, turns off and on, you have the opportunity to reappear in a slightly different configuration. Normally you reappear in the same configuration, same house, same sick body, because your observation and expectation are continuous. You expect to remain sick, so in the next blink, you recreate yourself sick. You maintain the coherence of the linear story with your memory. But if in the space between blinks, in the zero-point field in deep meditation, you radically change your information, in the next blink, you don't have to return to the same timeline. You can reappear in a version of you that is healing. This explains spontaneous healings and radical life changes. Someone interrupted the continuity of their observation of the old self and allowed the system to restart in a higher configuration. Stop seeing your life as a solid and continuous object. See it as a projection that updates every instant. If you change the slide in the projector, the image on the screen changes instantaneously. Déjà vu and the Mandela effect, glitches in the matrix. How do you know if you are jumping? The universe leaves clues. The glitches. Déjà vu, the feeling of, I have already lived this. The quantum explanation is that for a moment, your consciousnesses in two parallel timelines have synchronized. You have perceived what your parallel self was experiencing. It is a sign that you are close to an important bifurcation. The Mandela effect, remembering something one way but physical evidence shows another. This suggests that you have jumped to a timeline where history is slightly different. Your memory is from line A, but you are now inhabiting line B. Numerical synchronicities, seeing 1111, 222, 333 repeatedly. These are markers of coherence. They indicate you are aligned with the mathematical flow. They indicate that the veil between realities is thin. When you experience these things, do not dismiss them. They are navigation confirmations. They tell you, your reality is fluid. You are in motion. The quantum self, your double. Let's talk about your most valuable asset, your quantum double. In The Theory of the Doubling of Time, by physicist Jean-Pierre Garnier-Mallet, it is postulated that a version of us exists that travels at superluminal speeds in an imperceptible time, exploring all possible futures and bringing the information to the present. Regardless of the specific theory, the practice is this. There is a version of you that already has the solution to your current problem. That self is not suffering, he is celebrating. Your work in meditation is to merge with that self. It is not about asking him for help, it is about becoming him. In the theta void state, you visualize that self in front of you. You observe how he moves, how he smiles, how he breathes. You notice that his energy field is different from yours. It is lighter, more golden, more magnetic. And then you take a step forward and step inside his body. You put on his skin as if it were a suit. Suddenly, you see the world through his eyes. You feel his confidence, you think his thoughts. You inherit his memories from the future. By doing this, you copy his energetic code and paste it into your current biological system. When you open your eyes after meditation, you must not go back to being the old you seeking the new you. You must get up being the new you. You must walk like him, speak like him, and make decisions like him. If you maintain that identity during the day, the jump is consolidated. Physical reality has no choice but to mold itself to fit your new identity. The ticket price, leaving the luggage. You cannot jump to a new timeline carrying the luggage of the old one. It is a law of quantum aerodynamics. If you want to jump to the abundance timeline, you cannot take your poverty habits with you, complaining about prices, envying the rich, fear of spending. Those habits are anchors that keep you in the old reality. If you want to jump to the love timeline, you cannot take the resentment toward your ex or the belief that all men, women are the same. You have to leave the suitcases at the door. This is the hardest part for the ego. The ego is the luggage. The ego is the collection of your traumas, your judgments, and your past stories. Jumping timelines requires an ego death. It requires that you be willing to forget who you were in order to be who you want to be. Are you willing to stop being the victim of that injustice? Many people say yes, but deep down they don't want to, because their victim identity gives them attention and validation. If you love your story of suffering more than you love your future, you will not jump. The ticket to the new world costs your old story. Pay the price. The revision technique, Quantum Neville Goddard. One of the most powerful tools for jumping timelines is revision. This technique alters the past. Yes, you read that right. In the quantum world, the past is not fixed. It is a memory, and memory is a plastic neural circuit. If you change your memory of the past, you change the frequency you emit today. At the end of the day, review the events that went wrong or caused you stress. Do not go to sleep with that energy, because you will incubate it during the night and create more of the same tomorrow. Rewrite the scene in your mind. Imagine it happened exactly as you wanted. Feel the emotion of that new result. Repeat the imaginary scene until it feels real, until your brain registers that new version as the true one. By doing this, you cut the energetic thread with the failure timeline. You connect to the success timeline. Literally, you move to a parallel reality where that day was a success. Yesterday's physical facts might not change, or they might. Sometimes others' perception changes mysteriously, but what certainly changes is your trajectory. You have prevented yesterday's bad day from contaminating your tomorrow. You have jumped tracks, living in the as-if versus living in the being. There is a subtle but critical distinction. Superficial law of attraction tells you, act as if you were rich. This often leads to falsehood, spending money you don't have, faking on Instagram. That is deception, and it vibrates in lack, because deep down you know you are faking. Quantum change tells you, be the wealthy version. It's not about external actions, but internal state. The wealthy version of you does not need to buy an expensive watch to prove he is rich. In fact, maybe he doesn't care about watches. The wealthy version of you feels tranquility. He feels that there is enough. Living in the being means adopting the psychology, body posture, breath, and focus of your ideal self. Ask yourself 100 times a day, what would my quantum self be thinking right now? How would my quantum self react to this problem? And do that. By aligning your micro-decisions with your future self, you are physically walking toward that timeline. The density of time, the lag buffer. When you jump timelines, the change is instantaneous at the energetic level, but there is usually a delay, lag, at the material level. Matter is dense. It takes time to reorder itself. It's like turning the rudder of a giant ocean liner. You turn the rudder today, energy change, but the ship takes a few kilometers to visibly change its course. Many students fail in this lag period. They change their energy for 3 days, see no immediate physical results, and say, it doesn't work, and they return to the old frequency. They have just straightened the rudder exactly when the ship was about to turn. You must understand the hysteresis of reality. The reality you see today is the residue of your thoughts from yesterday. It is old light from a dead star. Do not judge your progress by what you see today. Judge it by what you feel today. If you maintain the new frequency long enough, matter has to obey, it is law. Persist in the new timeline blindly, knowing that the 3D stage is being set behind the curtain. Chapter 5. Retrocausality, Healing the Past from the Future. There is a proverb burned into the collective consciousness that says, "What's done is done." This phrase summarizes our linear and fatalistic perception of time. We believe that the past is a solid, immutable and fixed block of concrete. We believe the arrow of time travels in only one direction, from yesterday to tomorrow, pushed by inertia. Under this model, you are the inevitable result of your history. If you had a traumatic childhood, linear logic dictates that you must be a damaged adult. The cause, past, determines the effect, present. However, at the frontiers of quantum physics, this logic collapses. Fundamental physics equations are time-symmetric. They work the same way forward as they do backward. For an electron or a photon, the distinction between past and future is irrelevant. Welcome to retrocausality. This is the principle that establishes that an effect can precede its cause, or that a decision made in the present can influence the behavior of a particle in the past. If we apply this to reality engineering, the implications are staggering. Your past is not written in stone, it is written in memory and energy. And both are editable. Even more radical, your future is not just a destination you are heading toward, it is an active force sending signals backward through time to guide you. In this chapter, we are going to break the arrow of time. You will learn to rewrite your history to change your current biology. You will learn to remember your future, the physical evidence, the quantum eraser. For your rational mind to accept this, we need evidence, not philosophy, but physics. Let's talk about the delayed choice quantum eraser experiment proposed by John Wheeler. It has been successfully performed multiple times, notably by Kim et al. In 1999. Recall the double slit. If you observe the photon, it behaves as a particle. If you don't, it behaves as a wave. In the eraser experiment, physicists complicated the system. They sent photons through the slits, but configured the equipment so that the decision to observe or not observe was made after the photon had already passed through the slits and hit the screen. In human terms, the event occurred in the past. The decision to measure occurred in the future. The result: the decision made in the future determined how the photon behaved in the past. If in the future scientists decided to look, the photon in the past behaved as a particle. If they decided to erase the information, it behaved as a wave. The present rewrote history. This proves that time is not a rigid sequence of falling dominoes. It is an interconnected web, where the now is the pivot point that simultaneously affects what we call before and after. You are the delayed choice experimenter of your own life. Your observation today defines the nature of your past. The biology of memory. It is not a recording. But, the skeptic will say, my trauma was real. I have scars. I cannot change the fact that I had an accident. Here we must distinguish between the factual fact and the neurological impression. The factual fact the car crashed is irrelevant to your current reality. What affects your life today is not the crash from 10 years ago, but the memory of the crash that you activate today. And modern neuroscience has discovered something crucial. Memory is not a video file. Every time you remember something, you are not playing a file saved on a hard drive. You are reconstructing the memory from scratch. You pull out the neural pieces and reassemble them. And in that assembly process, the memory is vulnerable. It is altered by your current emotional state. This process is called memory reconsolidation. If you remember a sad event while depressed, you resave it with more sadness. You change the past neurologically to make it worse. If you remember a traumatic event while in a state of security, love, and high frequency, you resave the event with a different chemical label. You remove the emotional charge. The fact remains there, neutral data, but the trauma energetic charge disappears. Biologically, you have changed the past. Your body stops reacting to yesterday. Therefore, the past is not fixed. It is a dynamic construction you edit every time you think about it. Practical retrocausality, collapsing the trauma timeline. How do we apply retrocausality to heal? You must understand that in the quantum field, trauma is a trapped loop of energy. A part of your consciousness stayed frozen in that moment of the past, repeating the event in an eternal loop. That young version of you is trapped in a timeline of pain, sending distress signals to your current self. This is why you feel unprovoked anxiety. You are receiving the signal from your past. To heal, you must take a non-linear time travel trip. The protocol: 1. Enter the theta void state, 0-point field. 2. Invoke the scene from the past that hurts you. 3. Do not look at it as a victim. Enter the scene as your current higher self. 4. Approach your past self. 5. Give them what they needed at that moment, but didn't have. 6. Rewrite the scene. In your visualization, change the outcome. Imagine the abuse didn't happen or that you defended yourself. 7. Feel the emotional relief, of that new outcome with maximum intensity. By doing this with enough energy, you create a new synaptic trace. Your body does not distinguish between the original event and the intense revision. The body releases the chemical addiction to trauma and accepts the new safety signal. You have altered the timeline. From a quantum perspective, you have traveled back and rescued that part of your soul. The result in the present is immediate. The phobia disappears, the chronic pain ceases, the behavioral pattern breaks. You have healed the present by altering the cause in the past. Teleology, the future as a strange attractor. Now let's look in the other direction. The future. In the Newtonian Model, the past pushes you forward, causality. In the quantum and systemic model, there is teleology, the explanation of phenomena by their ends or purposes. In complex systems, the future acts as a strange attractor. Imagine that the desired future, you being enlightened, wealthy, and healthy, is a giant magnet placed in tomorrow. That magnet is pulling you. The causalities you experience today are not random accidents or consequences of the past. They are effects of the future. It is your future self organizing reality backward to drag you toward it. When you feel a strong intuition, it is not a hunch. Intuition is memory of the future. Since in the quantum field everything happens at once, your future self has already lived this moment. Intuition is your future self, sending an information packet back through time. Don't go that way, turn left. If you live under the premise of retrocausality, you stop worrying about the how. You trust that the events of the present are maneuvers your future is orchestrating to ensure its own existence. Time entanglement. In quantum entanglement, two particles are connected through space. In time entanglement, two moments are connected through time. You can entangle yourself with your future self. How? Through frequency resonance. If your future self is experiencing ecstasy and gratitude, and you today manage to generate ecstasy and gratitude in your meditation, you have just established a direct phone line. You have matched the frequency. In that moment of connection, a transfer of information occurs. Suddenly, ideas come to you that are not yours. They are theirs. Energy comes to you that does not come from your food. It comes from your future. You feel pulled forward. Visionaries like Steve Jobs or Tesla spoke of seeing the complete invention before making it. They were remembering the future. Breaking karma, inertia. What is karma from a physical perspective? It is inertia. It is the tendency of an object in motion to stay in motion in the same direction unless an external force acts on it. If your lineage and traumas push you toward poverty, that is your inertial karma. Retrocausality is the tool to break karma. By inserting new information into the system, you apply that external force that shifts the trajectory. You cease to be a product of your history to become a product of your imagination. Forgiveness, in this context, is quantum physics. To forgive is to withdraw your energy from the timeline of the past. While you hold a grudge, you maintain a quantum entanglement with the person who hurt you. You keep feeding that timeline with your attention. Forgiveness is saying, I cut the entanglement. I stop observing that reality. By doing so, the past event dies energetically. It becomes inert data. Karma dissolves because you have cut the causal connection. The fourth-dimensional observer. To operate with retrocausality, you must ascend your point of view. Imagine a movie on a celluloid roll. The character inside the movie only sees the current frame. You, holding the film roll in your hands, can see the beginning, middle, and end at the same time. You are the fourth-dimensional observer. You can edit. In your deep meditations, when you become no one, you step out of the movie. From that elevated position, you can look down at your lifeline and see it as a circle or a spiral. You can see where patterns repeat, and you can insert new information at any point in the spiral. All those versions of you are alive in the eternal now, waiting for your interaction. The future memory technique. Joe Dispenza teaches a powerful technique based on this. It consists of creating a memory before the experience happens. If you manage to live an internal experience with such sensory intensity that your brain creates synaptic connections, you have created a memory. Your brain now has a memory of being wealthy or healthy. Since the brain scans reality for matches with known patterns, it will now scan for matches with that future memory. You begin to behave automatically to fulfill that memory. It is much easier to return home than to go to a strange land. The scientific self-fulfilling prophecy. When you collapse a future wave in the present, you create an electromagnetic potential. You create a disturbance in the field. This disturbance acts as a shock wave traveling in all directions, even backward in time. This means your decision to change today may be the reason why yesterday you found that book, or why a year ago you were fired. From the retrocausal perspective, your decision to ascend, present, future, caused the firing, past, to force you to move. This vision eliminates all victimhood. Everything that has happened to you can be recontextualized as a necessary maneuver, orchestrated by your higher self, future, to lead you to today's awakening. By changing the meaning of the past, you change its biological effect on your body today. Practice the Council of Times. Tonight, perform this consciousness experiment. 1. Enter the void, theta, disconnect from body and time. 2. Visualize yourself in an infinite white space. 3. To your left, invite your child self, 5 to 7 years old. 4. To your right, invite your master self, your ideal future self. 5. Form a triangle. As the current self, act as a bridge. Take the wisdom, security, and infinite love of your future self. Feel it entering you. 6. Now, transmit that energy, along with your adult love, to your child self. Say, we are safe now. We made it. Look who we became. Observe how the child self calms down and heals. Observe how the future self nods, confirming the timeline is secured. By doing this, you heal the past and secure the future in a single act of present coherence. You align the 3 points of time into a single vertical column of light. Chapter 6. Neuro-Alchemy, Piezoelectric Crystals and the Pineal Gland. Until now, we have talked about the quantum field as a vast network of invisible information, a cosmic internet where all potential realities reside. But a basic engineering question arises. If that information is in the air, in the form of frequencies beyond visible light, how on earth do we capture it? Your brain cannot process what it cannot perceive. If you don't have the hardware to tune into a frequency, that frequency does not exist for you. A dog can hear a whistle that you cannot. A bat sees in the dark using sonar. To perceive higher dimensions of reality, we need an antenna. We need a device capable of converting invisible energy signals, frequencies, into meaningful images and feelings, chemistry and electrical impulses. In engineering, this device is called a transducer, and evolution has installed the most sophisticated transducer in the universe right in the geometric center of your brain. We call it the pineal gland. For millennia, mystics called it the third eye, the eye of Horus, or the seat of the soul. Materialistic science dismissed it for years as a useless, vestigial eye. Today we know the truth. The pineal gland is a piezoelectric crystalline neurotransducer. In this chapter, we are going to set aside vague mysticism to enter hard neuro-alchemy. You are going to learn how to turn on the antenna. You are going to learn to turn your brain into a quantum radio receiver capable of tuning into the frequency of the mind of God. Anatomy of the receiver, the hidden eye. Let's start with biology. The pineal gland is small, the size of a grain of rice, shaped like a pine cone, hence its name. It is located in the epithalamus, near the center of the brain, between the two hemispheres. What is fascinating is not where it is, but what it is made of. The interior of the pineal gland is not just soft tissue. It is filled with water, and floating in that water, there are small crystals. They are called calcite crystals, calcium carbonate. They have a rhombohedral microcrystalline structure. They are prism-shaped. And here comes the crucial part. These crystals possess piezoelectric properties. What is piezoelectricity? It derives from the Greek piezein, to squeeze or crush. It is the ability of certain materials, like quartz, to generate an electrical charge when mechanical stress is applied. It is the same principle you use in a kitchen lighter. You press the button, mechanical pressure. A small hammer hits a crystal and the crystal releases an electric spark, fire. It also works in reverse. If you apply electricity to the crystal, it vibrates mechanically. This means the crystals in your brain have the ability to convert mechanical vibration into electrical fields and vice versa. They are semiconductors. The question is, how do we apply pressure to those crystals to turn them on? The activation mechanism, the hydraulic pump. To understand how to activate the pineal, we must look at your spinal column. Your central nervous system is floating in a fluid called cerebrospinal fluid, CSF. This fluid is rich in proteins and salts, making it an excellent electrical conductor. An electrolyte. The CSF moves. It has a rhythm, a tide. When you inhale, the sutures of your skull expand slightly, and the sacrum bone, at the base of the spine, flexes backward. When you exhale, the skull contracts, and the sacrum flexes forward. This movement acts as a subtle hydraulic pump. But in most people, due to stress, poor posture, and shallow breathing, this pumping is weak. The fluid stagnates. The energy stays trapped in the lower centers, survival, sex, digestion. To activate the pineal, we need to accelerate this pumping. We need to turn the spine into a fluid cannon. This is where the breathing technique comes in. It consists of contracting the muscles of the perineum, the lower abdomen, and the upper abdomen while inhaling deeply, visualizing how the fluid is pushed toward the brain. By contracting these muscles, you are exerting physical pressure on the fluid. By inhaling and holding the breath, squeezing toward the head, you are pushing that pressurized CSF upward against gravity. When that high-pressure fluid hits the brain, it enters the ventricles and presses directly against the pineal gland. You are squeezing the gland. You are applying mechanical stress to the calcite crystals. What happens when you squeeze a piezoelectric crystal? It turns on, it fires up. The electromagnetic field. Inductance. At the moment the crystals are compressed, they release an electrical charge. Because they are crowded together, this charge creates a domino effect. the pineal gland begins to glow electrically. But not only that. According to the laws of electromagnetism, Faraday's law, any moving or accelerating electrical charge creates a magnetic field. When you activate the pineal through CSF pressure and breathing, you generate a massive electromagnetic field around your head. This field is a toroid, a donut shape. Literally, your head becomes a magnet. The pineal gland becomes a pulsing antenna. And like any antenna, once it is on, it begins to seek signals. It begins to pick up frequencies from the quantum field that are beyond the visible light spectrum. The gland goes from being an inactive organ to being a radio receiver. Now it can tune into stations that were previously white noise. The transducer, from frequency to image. Here the true magic of neuro-alchemy occurs. A transducer converts a signal of one type into another. Your television is a transducer. It captures invisible radio waves and translates them into pixels of light and sound that your eyes can see. It converts frequency into image. The pineal gland does exactly the same. It captures the multidimensional frequencies of the field and transduces them. It transduces them into neurochemistry and visual electrical impulses. The result, you have an internal vision. Suddenly, with your eyes closed, you see an explosion of light. You see sacred geometry. You see scenes of a potential future with hyper-realistic clarity. This is not imagination. Imagination uses memories of the past to build fuzzy images. This is an interdimensional experience. You are seeing encoded information. Your brain is decoding the energy of the void and presenting it on the screen of your mind. Gamma waves, the signature of the supernatural. When this happens, your brain changes state radically. Normally you operate in beta, stress, or alpha relaxation. When the pineal is electrically activated, the brain enters gamma waves. Gamma waves are of very high frequency, 40 Hz to 200 Hz or more. They are associated with superconsciousness, accelerated learning, and moments of insight or epiphany. In gamma, the brain is in a state of high coherence. All parts of the brain synchronize. The energy in the brain is so high that the subject experiences a sensation of bliss, ecstasy, and overwhelming love. It is what mystics call Kundalini ascending to the crown chakra. Scientifically, it is a massive release of metabolic energy stored in the body that rises to the brain. The chemical alchemy, melatonin to benzodiazepines. But the pineal gland is not just electrical, it is a chemical factory. It is the brain's alchemist. Its normal function is to take serotonin, the neurotransmitter of wakefulness, and convert it into melatonin, the neurotransmitter of sleep. Melatonin tells the body, it's time to sleep and repair. It stops the sexual desire, lowers the metabolism, and induces sleep. But when the pineal is subjected to high pressure and high frequency, gamma, the alchemy changes. The gland takes the melatonin molecule and modifies it slightly. It creates melatonin metabolites. These metabolites are extremely potent chemicals. 1. Endogenous benzodiazepines, substances similar to Valium. They shut down the fear center, the amygdala. The analytical, rational mind stops. 2. Pinolines, super potent antioxidants and superconductors. 3. Endogenous DMT, dimethyltryptamine. Many researchers suggest the pineal produces DMT or analogous substances. This is the spirit molecule. What do these substances do? They create a psychedelic and mystical internal experience. They alter the perception of time and space. They make internal reality seem more real than external reality. It is God's virtual reality system. The brain stops processing external sensory information and begins to process internal quantum information. Darkness becomes light, silence becomes music, the void becomes wholeness. The eye that sees, retinal tissue. An anatomical fact that will blow your mind. The cells of the pineal gland and the cells of the retina of your eyes have the same embryonic origin. In fact, inside the pineal gland, there is photoreceptor tissue. There are rods and cones, just like in your eyes. It is connected to the visual cortex. This raises the question, why does the brain need an organ with visual tissue in the center of the head where there is total darkness? The answer is to see the internal light. The pineal gland is literally an eye. When it is activated and the crystals glow, photoluminescence, the gland sees that light. That light carries information. The biblical metaphor, if your eye is single, your whole body shall be full of light, is not poetry. It is physiology. The eye of Horus and the cross-section. If you take a human brain and make a cross-section right through the middle, looking at the limbic system, the shape is identical, and I mean identical, to the Egyptian hieroglyph of the eye of Horus. The eyebrow is the corpus callosum, the pupil is the thalamus. The Egyptians knew this. They had mystery schools dedicated to the activation of this system. They knew it is the gate to the duat, the underworld, spiritual world. We have lost the instructions for our own body, but the structure is still there, waiting to be used. Inductance of the field, downloading the future. Let's go back to practical application. You have done the breathing, you have raised the energy, you have activated the crystals, you have generated the electromagnetic field. You are in gamma. Now what? Now you are a tuned antenna. In that state of high energy, you can hold a clear intention, thought. That thought travels through your electromagnetic field toward the quantum field. But the most important part is what comes back. The field responds by sending a wave of coherent information. Your pineal captures that wave. It translates it into a holographic image in your brain. Suddenly you see your future. You see yourself healthy, or wealthy, or free. But you don't see it as a distant movie. You experience it as an accomplished fact. The importance of darkness, melatonin. A crucial technical detail. The pineal gland is sensitive to light. Visible light inhibits the production of melatonin. To activate mystical neuro-alchemy, you need absolute darkness. You must meditate in a dark room or use a blindfold. Without darkness, there is not enough melatonin. Without enough melatonin, there is no raw material to create psychedelic metabolites. Darkness is the catalyst. The alchemical process happens in the cave. Do not fear the darkness. It is your ally to see the real light. Decalcification, the modern problem. There is a modern obstacle. In many people, the pineal gland is calcified. A shell of calcium forms around the gland that prevents the crystals from vibrating freely. The antenna is rusted. Main causes: fluoride, processed foods, and stress. If you want to operate at quantum levels, you must take care of your hardware. Reduce fluoride. Eat antioxidant-rich foods. Sleep in darkness. But above all, use the gland. Calcification also happens due to lack of use. Break the calcification with vibration. The activation protocol, the quantum fire breath. This is the mechanical procedure to turn on the switch. 1. Sit with your back straight. 2. Close your eyes. Total darkness. 3. Bring your attention to the perineum. 4. Inhale slowly and deeply through the nose. 5. While inhaling, contract the perineum. 6. Keep inhaling and contract the lower abdomen. 7. Keep inhaling and contract the upper abdomen. Imagine you are pushing a tube of liquid upward. 8. Bring that pressure up to the center of the brain. 9. When you reach the top, hold your breath. 6. Keep the muscular contraction, mula bandha, and focus all your attention on the pineal gland. 11. Apply internal pressure pushing against the roof of your head. 12. Hold for 10-15 seconds. Visualize the crystals lighting up. 13. Exhale and relax. Repeat 5 to 10 times. Chapter 7. Heart Coherence, the Signal Amplifier. In physics terms, thought is the electrical charge, feeling is the magnetic charge, and it is the magnetic field that attracts reality to you. You can have the clearest electrical intention in the world, I want to be free, but if your magnetic center is emitting the opposite signal, I am afraid, the transmission is cancelled. There is destructive interference. We need an amplifier. We need an engine capable of generating a magnetic wave powerful enough to travel through the ether and mold matter. That engine is beating in your chest right now. The heart is not a simple 4-valve hydraulic pump. The heart is the most powerful electromagnetic generator in your biology. In this chapter, we will learn to synchronize the brain and the heart. We will learn to enter the physiological state of heart coherence, heart physics, the toroidal field. Let's look at the hard data. The Heart Math Institute, a pioneer in research on the physiology of emotion, has measured the heart's field with sensitive magnetometers, SQUID. The results are humbling for the brain. The heart's electrical field is 60 times stronger than the brain's, but the heart's magnetic field is 5,000 times stronger than the brain's, 5,000 times. This means that, energetically, your brain is a small light bulb and your heart is a sun. The heart's magnetic field radiates outside the body to a distance of several meters and theoretically unto infinity, though our instruments stop detecting it at 3 to 4 meters. It has the shape of a toroid, a three-dimensional donut. Energy exits through the top, flows down around the body and enters through the bottom in a continuous cycle. You live inside this field. Your reality lives inside this field. This field is your energetic signature. It is the radio signal you are emitting to the universe 24 hours a day. When you try to manifest only with your head, visualization, affirmations, you are using the weak transmitter. You are shouting at the universe with a magnetic whisper. To collapse waves of reality on a large scale, you have to turn on the main transmitter. You have to bring the heart into the equation. The formula of creation is clear intention, brain electrical, plus elevated emotion, heart magnetic, to a new electromagnetic signature. The little brain in the heart. Neurocardiology has discovered that the heart has its own intrinsic nervous system. It contains about 40,000 neurons. These are sensory neurons, interneurons, and motor neurons. The heart has memory. The heart learns. The heart feels and decides independently of the cranial brain. But the most important part is the communication between the two. There is an information highway called the vagus nerve. The surprising thing is that 80% to 90% of the nerve fibers connecting the heart and the brain are afferent. This means they go from the heart to the brain, not the other way around. The heart tells the brain how to think. The heart is the boss. If the heart detects a disordered rhythm pattern, incoherence, stress, it sends a signal to the cranial brain that says, danger, shut down the prefrontal cortex, activate the amygdala, enter survival mode. In that moment, you become stupid, literally. You lose the ability to think clearly, to create, to learn. Your brain freezes. But if the heart detects an ordered rhythmic pattern, coherence, it sends a signal that says, everything is safe. Open the higher centers, activate creativity, turn on the pineal gland. Coherence versus incoherence, the rhythm of creation. We must distinguish between heart rate and heart rate variability, HRV. We don't want the heart to beat like a perfect metronome. That is a sign of disease. We want healthy variability, but we want the pattern of that variability to be smooth and ordered. Incoherence. When you feel anger, frustration, fear, or anxiety, your heart rhythm pattern becomes erratic, spiked, and disordered. It looks like an earthquake on a seismograph. This noisy and chaotic magnetic field interferes with your own brain waves. You get out of sync. And most importantly, you send a signal of static to the quantum field. The universe cannot read your request because there is too much noise on the line. Coherence. When you feel gratitude, appreciation, love, or compassion, the heart rhythm pattern becomes a perfect sine wave, smooth, wavy, harmonic. In this state, the heart pulls the brain into synchronization. The magnetic field becomes a laser. You are emitting a clear and powerful signal. Heart coherence is the optimal state of biological and psychic efficiency. It is the flow state. The carrier wave, the secret of transmission. Imagine a radio station. You need two things to transmit a song. 1. The information, the song itself, music, voice. This is your thought intention. 2. The carrier wave, the high-energy radio signal that carries the song through the air. Without the carrier wave, the song doesn't leave the studio. This is your emotion heart. If you have a great intention, I am going to be a millionaire. But your carrier wave is fear. I am terrified of being poor. The signal that reaches the field is fear. Emotion. Energy in motion is stronger than thought. The carrier wave dictates the power and the range. For true quantum change to occur, you must load your intention, clear thought of your future, onto a high-frequency carrier wave, elevated emotion. You must feel the emotion of the future before the event occurs. Here is the trap and the challenge. Most people can only feel gratitude after receiving the gift. They can only feel love after finding the partner. They are slaves to the environment. Their heart is reactive. The master learns to generate emotion autonomously, independent of the environment. He learns to open the heart and feel gratitude for nothing in particular, just for existing. When you hold that frequency of gratitude for 10 or 20 minutes, your body, the unconscious mind, believes the desire has already been fulfilled. Why? Because gratitude is the chemical signature that it has already happened. You don't give thanks before. You give thanks after. If you give thanks now, without the physical object, the body and the field understand that the event is already a reality. Then, physical reality reorganizes itself to match your state of gratitude. The danger of survival emotions. Survival emotions, the big three, fear, anger, sadness, are low and dense frequencies. Biologically, they are useful for running from a tiger. Energetically, they are insulators. When you are in survival, you withdraw your energy from the field to store it in your body. You become more matter and less energy. Your magnetic field contracts. You become selfish, centered on the self. In this state, you are disconnected from the unified field. You are a separate particle. Trying to manifest from anger or need is like trying to make a call without signal. You can shout into the phone all you want, but the signal doesn't go out. That is why effort doesn't work. Effort is usually accompanied by frustration, incoherence. Frustration blocks the result. To connect with the field, you must become selfless. You must expand your field. And the only way to expand the field is through regenerative emotions: love, joy, gratitude, inspiration. Anatomy of a blockage, the solar plexus. Many people try to open the heart and cannot. They feel a wall. This happens because energy is trapped in the three lower centers: root, sacral, solar plexus, the energy of survival. The solar plexus is the gate. If you have lived for years with guilt, shame, or insecurity, that energy is stored and stagnant there. To move energy up to the heart, you first have to be honest with your emotions. You cannot fake gratitude on top of hidden resentment. That creates more incoherence. You must do the shadow work. You must release the energy trapped below. The breath we learned in the previous chapter, pulling the fluid upward, mechanically helps to break that stagnation. It elevates the energy stored in the lower body toward the heart, where it can be transmuted into love. The heart is the great transformer. It refines raw passion or anger into compassion. The global effect, Schumann resonance. Your coherence does not end at your skin. We live within the Earth's magnetic field. The Earth has a resonance frequency, Schumann resonance. It has been proven that human magnetic fields can couple with and influence the Earth's field, and vice versa. When you enter heart coherence, you enter resonance with the planet. You synchronize with nature. Things begin to flow because you are no longer swimming against the magnetic current of your environment. You move with the system. This explains why, when you are in a state of deep love, animals approach you, babies smile at you, and coincidences find you. You have become a coherent node in the network. The system recognizes you as a functional part, not a stress virus. Protocol, heart coherence activation. This is the fundamental exercise to turn on the amplifier. Do it after the pineal activation or at any time of day you need a reset. Step 1. Heart focus. Close your eyes. Bring all your attention to the center of your chest. Where you put attention, you put energy. Stop thinking in your head and lower your consciousness to the chest. Step 2. Heart breathing. Start breathing a little slower and deeper than normal. Imagine that the air does not enter through the nose, but enters and leaves directly through your heart. Visualize your chest expanding as you inhale and relaxing as you exhale. Maintain a fluid rhythm, no forced pauses. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. This tricks the brain into believing you are safe. It interrupts the stress response. Step 3. Activation of feeling. This is the key. It is not enough to breathe. You have to feel. Bring to your memory something or someone for whom you feel genuine appreciation. It could be your pet, a sunset, your child, or a holiday memory. The trigger doesn't matter. The emotion does. Feel that warmth in your chest. Feel the opening. Smile slightly. This sends signals to the brain. Now take that feeling and amplify it. Breathe it. Let that gratitude fill your chest and radiate outside your body. Step 4. Radiation, broadcast. Once the signal is strong and clear, use it. Now bring your intention, your vision of the future. Place that vision in the center of your heart. Bathe it in that energy of gratitude. Love your future. Give thanks for it as if it had already happened. Hold that combination, vision plus love, for 10 minutes. You are transmitting. You are imprinting your desire on the quantum field. The acid test. Maintaining coherence with eyes open. Meditating is easy. Life is difficult. The true test of mastery is not how much love you feel with your eyes closed in your dark room. The test is, can you maintain heart coherence when you open your eyes and see the traffic? When your boss shouts at you? When you see the news? The moment you react with anger or fear, you break the field. You return to being a particle. You cut the transmission. The training of true quantum change consists of shortening the refractory period. If something upsets you, how long does it take you to return to the heart? 3 days, 3 hours, 3 minutes? The faster you return to coherence, the less energy you lose and the more stable your new reality is. You must learn to walk through the world with an open heart, but energetically strong. This does not mean being weak or sentimental. Coherence gives you mental clarity to set firm boundaries, but without the emotional toxicity of anger. You act from the intelligence of the heart, not from the reaction of the wounded animal. The heart as an organ of perception. When the heart is coherent, it acts as a second perceptive brain. Non-linear intuition often reaches the heart first. The HeartMath Institute proved that the heart reacts to emotional stimuli before they occur, precognition. In experiments, participants' hearts accelerated seconds before seeing an impactful image. But the heart remained calm before seeing a calm image. The heart knew what was coming. When you live in coherence, you access this immediate guidance. You feel if a decision is correct or incorrect. You feel if a person is honest. You stop overanalyzing with the brain, which only has past data, and start navigating with the heart, which has quantum field data. Your decision-making becomes impeccable. The chemistry of gratitude, a final biological fact to convince your analytical mind. It has been shown that the state of gratitude and heart coherence increases levels of immunoglobulin A, IgA, by 50% in just a few minutes. IgA is your primary immune defense against viruses and bacteria. On the other hand, 5 minutes of anger suppresses the immune system for 6 hours. Literally, your emotional state determines if you get sick or heal. But beyond viruses, this proves that your body obeys your emotional signal. If you can regulate your immune system with thought and feeling, you can regulate your genetic expression. You can tell your cells which proteins to build. And that leads us to the next level of depth. We have talked about energy, fields, and brains. Now we are going to talk about the biological software that builds your physical body. We are going to talk about DNA. They have told you that your genes are your destiny. That if your father had diabetes, you will have diabetes. That is the most dangerous lie in modern biology. Your genes are not your destiny. They are your library, and you are the librarian. Chapter 8. Quantum Epigenetics, Reprogramming the Hardware. During most of the 20th century, biology operated under an unquestionable dogma: genetic determinism. This theory held that your genes are your masters. We were taught that DNA is a fixed and immutable code inherited from your parents, determining not only your eye color but your health, longevity, and predisposition to disease. If your father died of a heart attack at 50, and your grandfather did too, classical medicine looked at you with pity and said, "It is your destiny. It is in your code. prepare yourself. Under this model, you are a victim of your heritage. Your body is a pre-programmed machine with an expiration date and factory defects you cannot correct. But at the end of the 20th century, science discovered something that shattered this dogma and returned power to the individual: epigenetics. Epi means above. Epigenetics means control above the genes. We discovered that genes are not the ones making the decisions. Genes do not turn themselves on or off. Genes are architectural blueprints. They are a library. In a library, books do not read themselves. Someone has to walk in, pull the book out, and read it. That someone is the environment. And in the human being, the environment has two layers. 1. External environment: toxins, nutrients, temperature. 2. Internal environment: hormones, neurotransmitters, emotions, and electromagnetic signals. This chapter is the instruction manual to become the librarian of your own DNA. You will learn that you are not condemned by your genes. You will learn that you can have the genetic predisposition to cancer, having the book on the shelf. And yet you can never develop the disease, never open the book if you maintain the correct internal environment. Even more radical, you will learn that you can rewrite your biology in real time using the fastest signal that exists, your frequency. The cell, a consciousness chip. To understand quantum epigenetics, we must look at the fundamental unit of life, the cell. You are a community of 37 to 50 trillion cells cooperating. Each cell is a sentient being. It has respiration, digestion, an immune system, and excretion. For years we believed that the brain of the cell was the nucleus, where the DNA is. But if you remove the nucleus from a cell, it continues to live for months. It moves, eats, interacts. It only dies when it needs to reproduce or repair complex parts. Therefore, the nucleus is not the brain. It is the gonad, reproductive organ, and the spare parts warehouse. The true brain of the cell is the membrane, the skin of the cell. The membrane is a liquid crystal semiconductor with gates. On the surface of the membrane, there are receptors, antennas. These receptors scan the environment for signals. When a signal, say a stress hormone like cortisol or a nutrient, fits into the receptor, it changes shape and sends a physical signal into the cell. That signal travels to the nucleus, searches for a specific gene, removes the protein sleeve covering it, exposing it, and makes a photocopy of that gene messenger RNA. That photocopy is used to build a protein, and life is proteins. Your body is protein. Bones, muscles, enzymes, hormones, everything is protein. Therefore, environmental signal, membrane, gene reading, new protein, new body. The gene did not cause the change, the signal caused the change. The chemical signal, emotion made flesh. What is the signal that controls the fate of your cells most of the time? The chemistry of your blood. And the chemistry of your blood is determined by your brain. If you perceive the world as a dangerous place, fear, your hypothalamus releases a cascade of neurochemistry. That neurochemistry ends up flooding your blood with cortisol and adrenaline. Those chemicals travel to the cells, dock with the receptors, and give an order to the DNA. We are under attack. Stop growing. Stop repairing. Stop producing immune cells. Activate inflammation genes. Activate rapid protection. If you maintain that emotion of fear for days, months, or years, you are continuously sending the disease signal to your genes. You are selecting, from the entire library, the books of decay. Your genes are not making you sick. You are making your genes sick with your chronic emotional signal. Emotion is the chemical signal that selects the gene. I hate my life. Selects disease genes. I love my life. Selects repair genes. It is you who is dialing the phone number for disease or health. The quantum signal, faster than a drug. Classical epigenetics studies chemical signals, nutrition, drugs. Quantum epigenetics studies energetic signals. It has been proven that cellular receptors vibrate. They are resonant antennas. They respond to electromagnetic frequencies much faster and more efficiently than to chemical signals. Chemistry is slow. A molecule has to physically travel, find the receptor, fit like a key. It is a Newtonian mechanical process. Energy is instantaneous. If you change your electromagnetic field, through heart coherence and gamma brainwaves, you send a frequency to all your cells at once. You don't need a hormone to travel through the blood. The signal is non-local and omnipresent in your body. When you hold an elevated emotion of gratitude, you are sending a harmonic frequency that penetrates the cell membrane without the need for chemical intermediaries. This frequency interacts directly with the DNA. DNA is also a quantum oscillator. It emits and receives light, biophotons. When the frequency of your consciousness, gratitude, collides with DNA, it causes an upregulation of healthy genes. In studies, it has been seen that in just 4 days of intense meditation and elevated emotions, participants increased their levels of telomerase, anti-aging enzyme, reduced markers of inflammation and oxidative stress, activated neuroplastic genes, brain growth. They did it without taking medication. They did it by changing the signal. The placebo effect, the irrefutable proof. Modern medicine treats the placebo effect as a statistical nuisance, something to be discarded to prove if a drug works. For the reality engineer, the placebo effect is the medicine. Let's analyze what it is. You give a patient a sugar pill and say with authority, "This is a revolutionary chemotherapy." The patient believes, thought, and feels hope, relief, emotion. Their body begins to produce its own internal pharmacy. And in a very high percentage of cases, the cancer remits. Was it the sugar? No, it was the belief. The belief changed the patient's internal state. That change in emotional signal, from fear to hope, was received by the cells as an order. The danger has passed, start repairing. And the body healed itself. The placebo effect is empirical proof that you are the geneticist. What we believe about our biology becomes our biology. Quantum epigenetics is simply learning to be your own placebo, without needing the sugar pill or the doctor who lies to you. It is taking the pill of pure intention, upregulation and downregulation. Let's be technical with 2 key terms. Your genes are like the lights in a house with dimmers. It's not just on or off, it's brighter or dimmer. Upregulation, increasing the activity of a gene, making it produce more proteins. We want to upregulate genes for immunity, bone regeneration, collagen and antioxidants. Downregulation, decreasing the activity of a gene. We want to downregulate genes for inflammation, tumors, and cortisol. When you live in the past, remembering traumas, you are upregulating the same genes that caused your current illness. When you live in the future, feeling gratitude for your health before you heal, you are upregulating new genes. You are manufacturing new proteins. And if you manufacture new proteins, you build a new body. Literally, your physical body is constantly being replaced. If you change the information signal today, tomorrow's construction materials will be of better quality. In 1 year, you will have a body built under the instructions of a new mind. If you maintain the old mind, you will rebuild the same sick body over and over again. The addiction to disease. Here we face an uncomfortable truth. The body can become addicted to disease. If you have felt victimhood and pain for 20 years, your cells have adapted to that chemical soup. They have developed more receptors for the chemicals of suffering and have atrophied the receptors for joy. When you try to change and feel gratitude, your cells scream, "Hey, where is my dose of suffering? I need my pain." They send signals of unease to the brain. You feel weird. You feel fake. The body tries to sabotage your quantum ascent to return to its known toxic homeostasis. This is biological withdrawal syndrome. Understanding this is vital. When you start to reprogram your genes, you will feel bad at first. The body will rebel. You must see that not as failure, but as proof that change is happening. It is the death of the old biological self. Persistence is key. You must force your cells to sit down and try the new chemistry. Over time, the old cells will die, and new cells will be born. These new cells, born in an environment of gratitude, will have receptors for gratitude. They will be native to the new chemistry. Telomeres and longevity. At the ends of your chromosomes, there are protective caps called telomeres. They are like the plastic tips on shoelaces. They prevent DNA from fraying. Every time a cell divides, telomeres shorten. When they become too short, the cell ages and dies. Stress, anger, and cortisol devour telomeres. They speed up the clock. But an enzyme called telomerase can rebuild and lengthen telomeres. What activates telomerase? You guessed it. Coherence, meditation, and love. Studies have shown that lifestyle changes can increase telomerase activity. This means aging is not a linear and inevitable downhill slide. It is reversible at the cellular level. If you change your quantum signal, you can slow down and even partially reverse biological aging. You are not condemned to deteriorate at the rate dictated by statistics. The latency time, the density of the protein. If energy changes instantaneously, why doesn't my tumor disappear in a second? Sometimes it does, instant miracles, but generally there is a latency time. Energy, wave, is fast. Protein, particle, is slow. To build new tissue, the body needs to synthesize proteins, assemble them, and transport materials. It is a physical construction site. It requires linear time. The mistake beginners make is looking at their body after a week and saying, "I'm still the same." That judgment stops the work. It tells the genetic foreman, "Cancel the project, we're going back to the old model." To reprogram your hardware, you must hold the signal of healing completed throughout the latency period without physical proof. Do not dig up the seed to see if it grows. Matter will eventually catch up with energy. Protocol. Direct cellular conversation. Do not see your body as a dumb object. Your body is a collective consciousness of trillions of beings listening to you. They hear your internal monologue. If you say, "I am fat," "I am getting old," your cells hear those as direct orders from the commander. And they obey. You must change your dialogue with the hardware. Practical exercise. 1. In a state of relaxation, alpha, theta, bring your attention to the part of the body you want to change. 2. Speak to it, not with hope, but with loving authority. 3. Say, "Cells of my liver, skin, bones, I order you to return to your original pattern of perfection. Upregulate repair, release inflammation. I love you and I trust you." 4. Visualize how golden light, frequency, penetrates the nucleus and rewrites the DNA code. Treat your body with respect and it will work for you. Transgenerational heritage, cleaning the lineage. Epigenetics has also shown that trauma from grandparents is inherited. Information about trauma is recorded in the sperm and the egg as an epigenetic marker. You carry in your DNA the fears and famines of your ancestors. Much of what you feel is not yours. It is heritage. But here is the good news. You are the end point. If you change your reaction to fear, if you heal the emotion, you modify the epigenetic marker. You heal your lineage backward, energetically, and forward, biologically. Your reprogramming work is a service to the species. You are cleaning the genetic database of humanity. Chapter 9, The Hologram of Reality, the Mirror Screen. If you have followed the instructions in the previous chapters, it is likely that you find yourself in a baffling situation. You have changed your energy. You have activated your pineal gland. You have felt the gratitude of the future. You feel different inside, lighter, more powerful, more coherent. But then you open your eyes, look around, and your bank account is still in the red. Your partner is still arguing. Your body is still showing the symptom. The outside world seems stubbornly immovable. This is where most students of quantum change give up. They look at external reality. They don't see immediate change, and they conclude, "This is a fantasy, it doesn't work. Reality is stronger than I am." By making that judgment, they collapse the old wave function again and destroy their progress. The fundamental error lies in not understanding the holographic nature of reality. You live under the illusion that the world out there is solid, independent, and primary. Cutting-edge physics and cognitive neuroscience tell us otherwise. The world out there does not exist as such. It is a sensory reconstruction that occurs in here. And deeper still, physical reality acts as a quantum mirror with a delay. It is not the source of truth, it is the reflection of your previous state. In this chapter, we are going to deconstruct the illusion of solidity. You will learn that trying to change your life by manipulating the outside world is as useless as trying to comb your hair by touching your reflection in the mirror. To change the image, you must change the object projecting the image. You. The holographic universe, the whole in every part. In the 1980s, physicist David Bohm and neurophysiologist Carl Pribram independently proposed the holographic model of the universe and the brain. To understand this, we must first understand what a hologram is. A hologram is created when a laser beam is split in two. One part bounces off an object and the other goes directly to a photographic plate. When the two beams meet on the plate, they create an interference pattern. If you look at the photographic plate with the naked eye, you don't see the object. You see concentric circles and chaos. But if you illuminate that plate with another laser, boom, a 3D image of the object appears floating in the air. The most amazing feature of a hologram is this. If you cut the photographic plate in half and illuminate it, you don't see half of the object. You see the entire object, though a bit blurrier. If you cut it into 100 pieces, each small fragment contains the information of the entire object. The whole is contained in every part. This is called the fractal principle, and your reality works just like that. Your DNA is a hologram. Every cell contains the information to build the entire body. The universe is a hologram. In every point of space-time, the information of the entire cosmos is contained, the principle of non-locality. And your life is a hologram. Your external reality is a 3D projection. It is a projection generated by the interference pattern occurring inside your brain and your heart. You are the projector. The world is the screen. What you see outside, people, circumstances, is simply your own internal energy converted into solid objects through the lens of your nervous system. The mirror, the law of projection. If you accept the holographic model, you must accept a devastating psychological truth. Objective reality does not exist. Only perceived reality exists, and your perception is a projection of your interior. The world acts as a giant 360-degree mirror. If you look in the mirror and see a spinach stain on your teeth, what do? Do you try to clean the mirror? Do you rub the glass with a cloth hoping the stain disappears from your teeth? That would be madness. You know the reflection has no will of its own. The reflection is passive. It only shows you what you are. To remove the stain from the reflection, you have to clean your own teeth. However, in life, we spend 90% of our time rubbing the mirror. We try to change our partner, the reflection. We try to force the economy, the reflection. We try to manipulate people, the reflection. And we get frustrated because the mirror doesn't change. Or if it changes momentarily, it shows the stain again the next day. The law of the mirror establishes, if you are full of repressed anger, you will project a world full of aggressive and unfair people. If you are full of insecurity, you will project a world that invalidates and betrays you. If you are full of love and coherence, you will project a kind and cooperative world. External events are neutral. They lack intrinsic meaning. It is your internal projector that assigns them meaning and emotional charge. Traffic is not stressful. Traffic is stopped cars. The stress is in your projector. If you change the slide in the projector from stress to peace, the traffic is still there, but the experience of suffering disappears. And curiously, often the traffic dissipates. Synchronicity. The latency time. The reality buffer. Here is the technical trap that makes beginners fall. Time. In a bathroom mirror, the reflection is instantaneous. You move, the reflection moves. In the mirror of quantum reality, there is a buffer, a delay. Matter is dense. It has inertia. Energy, thought emotion, is fast, but time is needed for that energy to reorganize the atoms of the physical world. Imagine that reality is the light reaching us from a distant star. If the star explodes today, internal change, the light will take years to reach our eyes, external change. When you look at the night sky, you are seeing the past. When you look at your current life, your bank account, your body, your house, you are seeing your materialized past. You are seeing the fossilized residue of your thoughts and emotions from months or years ago. Your current reality is a dead star. It is old news. The problem arises when you look at that dead reality, for example, debt. You react emotionally to it, fear or sadness, and you confirm that reality. By reacting to the delayed reflection, you are sending a new signal of debt into the future. You are recycling the past. You are trapped in a time loop. Past and present reaction, future equal to the past. The master's solution. You must learn to live in 2 times at once. Physically, you manage the present, you pay the bills, you wash the dishes. But energetically and emotionally, you live in the future. You ignore the evidence of the senses, the delayed mirror, and you hold the emotion of the new reality, the new star. You must be able to see the absence of results and remain unmoved. You must tell yourself, what I see outside is my old self evaporating. My new self is already created in the field and is traveling here. The mirror simply has lag. Faith, in scientific terms, is the ability to sustain a frequency despite the lack of immediate sensory feedback. The reticular activating system, RAS. The search filter. Your brain receives approximately 400 billion bits of information per second. However, you are only aware of about 2,000 bits. If you were aware of everything, your brain would fry. To protect you, the brain has a biological filter, the reticular activating system, RAS. The RAS is the gatekeeper of your consciousness. Its job is to filter out irrelevant data and let through only what matches your beliefs and your focus of attention. The RAS works like the Google search algorithm. If your deep belief is, money is hard to get, your RAS has the order to block any opportunity for easy money. Literally, you don't see them. There could be $1 million investment opportunity right under your nose, and your RAS will classify it as background noise and erase it from your conscious perception. It will make you blind to abundance. At the same time, your RAS will scan the environment looking for confirmation of your belief. It will highlight news of economic crisis, bills, and the complaints of your friends. It will tell you, look, you're right, money is hard. It's not that the world is like that. It's that you are only seeing the 2,000 bits that confirm your bias. We live in a neurological self-fulfilling prophecy. When you do the quantum change work, you are reprogramming the RAS. You are changing the search parameters of the algorithm. Now you tell it, search for abundance, search for synchronicity, search for love. Suddenly, you start to see opportunities that were always there. Shadow work, cleaning the projection. Carl Jung said, that which you deny submits you, that which you accept transforms you. In the holographic model, everything you hate or judge intensely in the outside world is a projection of your own shadow. The shadow consists of the parts of yourself that you repressed because they were unacceptable. Aggression, selfishness, weakness. Since you cannot admit those qualities are in you, you project them onto the screen of the world. You see someone arrogant and feel disproportionate anger. That anger is the signal that you are seeing your own repressed arrogance reflected in the mirror. If you had no arrogance in you, the other's arrogance would not activate you. You would see it as neutral data. When you have a strong emotional reaction towards someone, you are facing a mirror. Shadow work is vital for the reality engineer. If you try to manifest light and love, but you have a basement full of repressed monsters, those monsters will be projected into your hologram as obstacles or enemies. You must integrate the shadow. By accepting and loving those parts of yourself, you withdraw the projection. The myth of objectivity, the double-blind experiment. Let's go back to hard science. Science seeks objectivity. It wants to observe the world without affecting it. But quantum mechanics tells us this is impossible. The observer always affects the observed. You cannot measure the temperature of water without putting in a thermometer that, even minimally, alters the water's temperature. In your life, this means you never interact with people as they are. You interact with the version of them that you collapse. You evoke different versions of people. Surely you know someone who is a devil to you but an angel to someone else. Why? Because you have an expectation, a wave function, that this person will treat you poorly, and your observation collapses that probability. The other person has an expectation that they will be kind and collapses that probability. That person is a quantum superposition of devil and angel. You extract what you expect. This gives you a terrifying power. You are responsible for how others treat you. If you radically change your expectation and your energy towards someone, often that person changes their behavior toward you spontaneously. The illusion of separation, entanglement. The hologram is continuous, there are no seams. Your fingers do not end where the air begins. There is a constant exchange of electrons. You do not end where your partner begins. There is a shared emotional field. The idea that you are an isolated entity, fighting against the universe, is the optical illusion of 3D consciousness. At the fundamental level, the level of the holographic plate, you and the universe are the same thing. When you understand this, competition disappears. How is the right hand going to compete with the left? Both serve the same body. When you harm another, you harm yourself, not because of morality, but because of systems physics. When you help another, you help yourself. The hologram becomes benevolent because you have become benevolent with yourself. The feedback loop, reality as diagnosis. Stop using external reality as a judge of your worth and start using it as a diagnostic tool. Your life is a biofeedback. If your car makes a strange noise, you don't get angry with the car. You use the noise as data. Something is wrong with the engine. Look at your life. Are your relationships chaotic? Data. There is chaos in your emotional frequency. Is your money stagnant? Data. There is fear or contraction in your energetic flow. Is your body inflamed? Data. There is an internal war in your psyche. Use this to correct the signal. Protocol, the reality audit. This exercise will help you separate projection from observation. 1. Take a piece of paper and divide it into 2 columns. 2. Left column, facts. Write only what a video camera would record. No adjectives, no interpretations. Example: my partner arrived 20 minutes late. My account has $50. 3. Right column, story. Write what your mind projected onto those facts. Example: my partner doesn't respect me. I am a financial failure. Analyze the right column. That is your holographic projection. 4. Rewrite the story. Take the same facts and give them a new, empowering meaning. My partner was late. Maybe they had a problem. I will maintain my peace. I have $50. It is a seed for my growth. Feel your body chemistry change as you change the story. The scientific test of faith. Closing the gap between the time of investment, internal change, and the time of dividend, external change, requires supreme mental strength. You are walking through a valley of shadows. You have left the old world behind, but you don't see the promised land yet. In the desert, there are no proofs, only sand. The ego will tell you, go back, at least in Egypt, the old miserable life we knew what to eat. Most die in the desert. They return to the slavery of the known. The master keeps walking, guided by an internal star that only he sees. He knows the desert is necessary. It is the place where dependence on the outside dies. If you can be happy in the desert without visible water, just because of the certainty that the water is coming, then you have graduated. The hologram has to yield. It has no choice. Chapter 10. The Chemical Hangover, the Addiction to the Old Self. You have reached the critical point. You have learned the theory. You have practiced meditation. You have glimpsed the future. You are motivated. You decide that today is the day. You wake up with the firm determination to be a new, grateful, and quantum person. But by mid-morning, something strange happens. You begin to feel irritated for no reason. You feel a void in your stomach, a restlessness, a heaviness. Your mind begins to generate negative thoughts at a breakneck speed. This is nonsense. It won't work. You should give up. You're tired, do it tomorrow. Suddenly you find yourself shouting at someone or falling into the old depression, and by nightfall you go to bed feeling like a failure, thinking you have no willpower. Let me tell you something that will change your perspective forever. It is not a lack of willpower. It is not that you are weak. It is not that you are bad at meditating. What you are experiencing is a withdrawal syndrome. Literally. Your body is a drug addict, and the drug it is addicted to is your past. When you try to change your emotional state, to stop suffering and start giving thanks, you are taking away your body's daily dose of familiar chemistry. And the body, like any addict in rehab, panics, screams, kicks, and manipulates you to give it its fix. In this chapter, we are going to dissect the biology of this resistance. We are going to understand why change feels like dying, and we are going to learn to tame the beast. The internal pharmacy, neuropeptides, and receptors. To understand this addiction, we must look at the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is a mini chemical factory in your brain. Its job is to translate thoughts into matter. Every time you have a thought or an emotion, the hypothalamus manufactures a protein chain called a neuropeptide. There is a neuropeptide for anger. There is one for sadness. There is one for victimization. There is one for lust. These chemical substances are released into the bloodstream and travel to every cell in the body. Now, let's look at the cell. The cell has thousands of receptors on its surface. They are like locks. The neuropeptide is the key. When the anger peptide reaches the cell, it fits into the anger receptor. Click. Upon fitting, it sends a discharge to the cell that changes its structure. If you have been angry for 20 years, your cells have been bombarded daily with the anger drug. What does an intelligent cell do? It adapts. Since anger is the most frequent signal, the cell decides to build more anger receptors and dismantle the receptors for other things, like joy or nutrients, that are not being used. The cell becomes super-sensitive to anger. The cell specializes in processing anger, and like any biological system, it develops tolerance each time it needs a higher dose of anger to feel the same stimulus. The body as the unconscious mind. This is where it gets dangerous. When you decide to change and say, "Today I am going to be peace and love," you stop producing anger peptides. The blood is cleared of that drug. 2 hours pass. The cells notice there is no anger in the blood. The receptors are empty. They are hungry. The cell begins to send a distress signal to the brain through the nervous system. "Hey, where is my chemistry? I need my fix. Do something." This signal goes up the spinal cord and reaches the limbic brain, emotional, and the neocortex, rational. The body begins to manipulate the mind. The body tells the brain, "Find a reason to get angry." And your brain, which is an obedient servant, begins to scan reality looking for problems. It makes you remember what your ex did to you 5 years ago. It makes you notice how badly the person in front of you is driving. It activates thoughts that justify the emotion of anger. The moment you hook into that thought and get angry, boom, the hypothalamus releases the chemistry of anger. The cells receive their dose. The body calms down, and you feel good in your toxic comfort zone, even though you just sabotaged your future. This cycle is the definition of addiction. You are not addicted to external substances. You are addicted to your own stress hormones. The body has become the mind. The body, past, is directing the brain, present. The true quantum change is, in essence, a civil war between the conscious mind, which wants to grow, and the unconscious body, which wants its drug. The chemical hangover, the valley of death. When you cut the supply, you stand firm in your meditation and do not react. You enter the chemical hangover. It is the detoxification period. The symptoms are real and physical: extreme fatigue, mental fog, anxiety and physical restlessness, restless legs, phantom pains, headaches, neck tension, nausea or digestive discomfort, violent emotional swings, spontaneous crying. The body is using its entire arsenal to break your will. It is screaming at you, "Look at how I feel, you're doing it wrong. If this were good, I would feel good, but I feel terrible." This is the great deception. Feeling bad, in this context, is the signal that you are doing it right. It means the body is dying to its old identity. It means the old receptors are drying up. It is the purifying fire. Most people interpret this discomfort as intuition or truth. I feel this isn't for me. It is not intuition. It is withdrawal syndrome. If you quit here, the body wins. You return to the old homeostasis, the extinction burst. In behavioral psychology, there is a phenomenon called the extinction burst. Imagine a child who always cries to get candy. You always give it to them. One day you decide to change. The child cries. You do not give the candy. Does the child say, "Oh, okay, I understand the new rule," and keep quiet? No. The child cries louder, screams, kicks, throws themselves on the floor. It increases the intensity of the behavior just before the behavior disappears. Your body does the same. Just before the old self dies for good, the resistance will be at its maximum. You will have the worst day of your life. Everything will go wrong. Your mind will be an absolute chaos of negativity. That is the extinction burst. It is the last desperate attempt of the biological ego to regain control. If you know this, you can celebrate it. When that hellish day arrives, you can say, "Ah, here is the burst. It means I am close." The body is terrified because it knows it is losing control. Stand firm. Do not give in. On the other side of that burst is silence and freedom. Crossing the river of change. Imagine that your old self lives on the bank of a river. Your new self lives on the other bank. To get there, you have to cross the water. The water is cold, dark, and turbulent. It is the void. It is uncertainty. When you enter the river, you stop feeling the safety of the old bank, the known, but you don't yet feel the safety of the new bank, the future. You are in no man's land. You are not the old person, but you are not the new one yet either. You feel lost. You feel disoriented. The body screams back to the shore. At least there we know who we are, even if we are miserable. The fear of the unknown is greater than the fear of known suffering. The quantum master knows this disorientation is necessary. It is the moment the old neurological structure is dismantled. If you feel weird, empty, or strange, be glad. It means you have stopped being you. And as we saw in Chapter 3, only when you are no one can you create everything. Hold the discomfort. Learn to be comfortable in the chaos of transition. Do not try to fill the void with distractions, phone, food, drama. Let the void do its recycling work. The voice of the saboteur. The body doesn't just use sensations, it uses thoughts. It is intelligent. It knows your psychological weaknesses. If your weakness is intellectual doubt, it will send you thoughts like, "This isn't scientific, you're wasting your time." If your weakness is self-esteem, it will tell you, "You don't deserve this." If your weakness is laziness, it will tell you, "Start on Monday, rest today." You must understand that these thoughts are not yours. They are automatic secretions of a brain wired to the past. They are old recordings. The mistake is believing that because you have a thought, that thought is truth. A thought is just an electrical impulse. During the chemical hangover, your capacity for discernment, metacognition, is your lifeline. You must become the observer of your thoughts, not the thinker. You must be able to hear the voice of the saboteur and say, "I hear you. I know you are my body asking for drugs. I will not obey you." Taming the animal, the rider and the horse. Think of your mind-body relationship as that of a rider and a horse. The horse is your body, emotions, instincts, brute force. The rider is your consciousness, will, vision, spirit. For years, the rider has been asleep. The horse has gone wherever it pleased, toward immediate pleasure and pain avoidance. Now the rider has awakened and taken the reins. The horse is surprised. It rebels. It rears up. It tries to throw the rider. Many students, feeling the horse's resistance, get off. The quantum master does not get off. He stays firm in the saddle. He does not beat the horse. Do not hate yourself. But he doesn't let it win either. He says with authority, "I understand you are afraid, but we are going this way. I am in command. I am the rider." Every time the body gets restless in meditation, you bring it back. Sit, stay. We're not done yet. You train it like a dog. Over time, the body learns that the rider will not yield. And then something magical happens. The body surrenders. It stops fighting. It releases the energy it was using to resist. That released energy goes up to the brain, and the horse, instead of being an enemy, becomes the most powerful vehicle to take you to your destination. When body and mind align, you are unstoppable. Neuroplasticity, synaptic pruning and new roads. At the cerebral level, the chemical hangover is the sound of construction. You are destroying old roads and building new ones. Synaptic pruning. When you stop thinking and feeling in the old way, the circuits weaken. This feels like forgetting who you were. Long-term potentiation, LTP. When you start thinking and feeling in the new way, gratitude, future, the neurons fire together and wire together. You create new circuits. At first, these circuits are thin threads, dirt roads. With repetition, they become thick cables, fiber optic highways. A day will come when it will be harder for you to get angry than to be happy. Happiness will become the automatic habit. You will have changed your neurological baseline. The turning point, the release of energy. How do you know if you have won the battle? Because you will feel a massive release of energy. Maintaining an addiction consumes a lot of energy. Repressing emotions consumes energy. Maintaining a lie, your false identity, consumes energy. When the body finally surrenders to the new mind, all that energy stuck in survival is released. You feel light. You feel transparent. The compulsive need for external things disappears. You no longer need the coffee, the sugar, the drama, or the validation. You feel alive because you are connected to your own source. That is the moment you cross to the other bank of the river. You dry yourself off, look back, and see the old self vanish into the mist. You are no longer him. You are free. Protocol, the executive command. During this transition period, you need an emergency tool for when the body tries to kidnap you. Use the stop command. When you catch yourself midday falling into a loop of negative thoughts. 1. Mentally shout, stop. 2. Break the pattern. Interrupt the electrical signal. 3. Dissociation. Step out of the body. Imagine yourself floating outside yourself. Say, my body is having a chemical reaction. I am not my body. 4. Redirection. Ask yourself, what thoughts do I want to fire and wire now? 3. Replacement. Evoke the emotion of your future. Force the body to feel it even for 30 seconds. 6. Reward. When the body obeys and changes state, thank it. Well done. That's how I like it. Positive reinforcement. Do this 50, 100 times a day if necessary. Conclusion. The avatar state, the master's graduation. The data transmission has concluded. We have traveled together through the complete arc of human existence, from Newton's mechanical prison to the infinite freedom of the quantum field. You have learned that matter is a dense illusion and that consciousness is the fundamental fabric of reality. You have discovered that you have crystal antennas in your brain, a nuclear magnetic reactor in your heart, and a rewritable genetic library in every cell. Intellectually, you now possess the most dangerous and powerful knowledge a human being can have. You know that you are God experiencing himself in a biological simulation. But knowledge by itself is only philosophy. Knowledge stored in the neocortex changes nothing. Knowledge must become experience. It must descend into the body, become emotion, rewrite chemistry, and transform into wisdom. The end of this audiobook is not the end of the work. It is the beginning of the great work. Now you face the ultimate challenge, the challenge for which you came to this physical plane. The challenge is not to escape from reality to live in a cave meditating. The challenge is to live in the physical world with its traffic jams, its taxes, and its noises. You must live while keeping your quantum consciousness intact. This is what we call the avatar state, walking between two worlds. The avatar state is the ability to live in two dimensions simultaneously. Your feet are on the earth, 3D. You pay your bills, you hug your children, you wash the dishes. You respect the laws of gravity and linear time to function in society, but your mind and your heart are in heaven, 5D quantum field. Your attention is not trapped in the drama of matter. You are anchored in the frequency of possibility, gratitude, and unity. You walk through the world, but you are not of the world. You see people stressed, running, struggling to survive, and you feel a deep compassion, because you know they are asleep in a nightmare they believe is real. You no longer sleep. You are the lucid observer within the dream. In this state, you become invulnerable. Not because bad things don't happen to you, but because nothing external has the power to alter your internal state without your permission. If you lose money, you do not collapse into fear, because you know the source of your abundance is not your job, but your frequency. You adjust the frequency and generate new money. If you fall ill, you do not panic. You enter the silence, you speak with your cells, you upregulate your genes, and you heal yourself. You have reclaimed the remote control of your life, the responsibility of the Creator. With this power comes a terrifying responsibility. You no longer have anyone to blame. The excuses are over. No more blaming your parents, the economy, the government, or your genetics. If you do not like your life, it is because you are collapsing that reality with an incoherence that you refuse to correct. You are the only dreamer of your dream. This radical acceptance of responsibility is the gateway to spiritual maturity. At first, it feels heavy. But then, it liberates. Because if you are the problem, you are the solution. Never again will you have to wait for the world to change to be free. You are free now by decree of your own consciousness. The new normal, the magical life. What can you expect from now on if you apply these protocols daily? The paranormal will become your new normal. You will stop being surprised by synchronicities. You will expect them to occur. You will get used to thinking of someone and having them call you instantly. You will get used to needing something and having it appear at your door without effort. Friction disappears. The struggle ends. You enter a life of elegance. Elegance is the efficient use of energy. It is doing less and achieving more. It is moving mountains with a word, not with a shovel. Your presence becomes therapeutic. When you enter a room, your coherent electromagnetic field, your toroid, is so strong that it begins to entrain the incoherent fields of others. Without saying a word, you calm nervous people. You heal sick people just by being near them. You become a vortex of order in a world of entropy. That is your service to humanity. It is not to preach, it is to resonate. The final trap, the spiritual ego. A warning before you go. The ego is cunning. When it sees that you are evolving, it will try to sneak in through the back door. It will try to make you feel special or superior to those who do not know this. It will tell you, look at those who are asleep. You are better. You are a quantum master. The moment you judge another as inferior, you have fallen back into separation. You have stepped out of the unified field and returned to the Newtonian trap of me versus them. The true master does not feel superior. He feels as one. He sees God disguised in the beggar and in the banker. He knows that everyone is doing the best they can from their level of consciousness. Maintain humility. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself less and thinking more of the whole. The evolution of the species, Homo luminous. What you are doing is not just for you. We are at a critical moment in the biological history of the Earth. Humanity is evolving. We are moving from Homo sapiens, the man who knows, thinks, to Homo luminous, the man who shines, knows. We are making the transition from organisms based on carbon and survival to entities based on light and creation. You are the pioneer of this evolution. You are the laboratory. Every time you break an emotional addiction, every time you choose love over fear, you are clearing a path. You are clearing a path in the collective consciousness. You are making it easier for others to wake up. You are proving that it is possible to live without disease and without internal war. Your personal healing heals the morphogenetic field of the species. There is no nobler task than this, the last experiment. So here we are on the edge of the cliff. Behind you is your old life, predictable, secure, limited, painful. In front of you is the void, unknown, black, terrifying, and full of infinite potential. I do not ask you to believe me. I ask you to jump. I ask you to dedicate the next 30 days to being a relentless scientist of your own life. Get up every morning before the sun. Sit in the darkness. Disconnect from the world. Open your heart. Turn on your brain. Remember your future. And then get up and live that day as if that future were already real. Do not react to the mirror. Smile at the mirror until the mirror has no choice but to smile back at you. If you do this, I promise you something. A day will come, perhaps soon, when you will be walking down the street, or watching a sunset, or brushing your teeth, and suddenly it will hit you. A wave of ecstasy so intense it will bring you to your knees. A feeling of love so massive you will feel your chest is going to burst. You will look at the world and see that everything is light. You will see the divine matrix glowing behind the matter. You will realize that you were never broken. You were never alone. You were never separate. You will realize that all the suffering was only the necessary training to wake you up. And in that moment, you will know that the true quantum change has occurred. Not because you have the car or the money, which you will have, but because you no longer need them to be happy. You will be free. You will be, finally, yourself. The door is open. The code has been delivered. The universe is waiting for your command. What will you observe today? Thank you for listening.